And we are live. Every show, folks, every show. It's like, okay, we've got to do this, do that. And every show is, we have 10 seconds. We have 10 seconds to start the show. So this show, we were ready about 10 minutes. We're waiting for our guests, Ryan and Erica McVeigh of VivTech. And we're just kind of sitting here waiting and waiting. And then I mentioned to Nanette, okay, you're going to run the show tonight and you're going to answer the questions and comments and you're going to jump between our script. I have a light script because I know Erica and Ryan so well. But so I'm saying, okay, we have 10 seconds and 10 seconds counts down and we're both looking at the screen. I said, okay, so, to go live, you have to press the go. You have to press the go live so that we can
go live.
So
I didn't realize I was doing everything.
I need a sign that I could hold up. Technical issues. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. This is going to be a good show. We're still waiting for Ryan and Erica. I've sent out a couple of notes to them. Hopefully, they're just going to bounce in any minute now. Any minute now. Any minute now.
Any second.
Do you want to go through the list?
There they are.
Hey, there we go.
Okay.
Don't bring them on just yet.
No, I'm not.
Ryan and Erica, because you were so late, I'm going to make you sit in the green room and think about your lateness. Yeah, he's going like this. So why don't you let everybody know?
He blamed me tonight too, Erica. So
that's what the better has.
Cassandra's here. Moon over Miami's here. J-Bug's here. Supreme's here. Hey, you're here. J-Bug. Who else do we have? Frank the Tank is here. Crazy Bugs and Pods are here. Frank, you've got a lot of comments going here, buddy. 503 Menagerie is here. Yeah, I said that right. Not like you. Laura Taylor.
Wow. I get something wrong. I read something wrong.
Once.
Wow.
JP Lizards is here and Julie Moore is here.
Thank you for joining us, everyone. If you were with us, now I've got to think of the date. I think it was yesterday. We had lunch together. We had waffles.
We did have lunch.
We had lunch together. So I had a lunch with Wally. I wanted it to be about 10, 15, 20 minutes. Well, I think we went 40 minutes. It was Frank's fault. Frank the Tank. We kept talking and talking, and I couldn't get him off the chat. So we had to go like 40 minutes.
Trying to get that 24-hour screen, though.
He is trying to get the 24-hour Isopod Gecko marathon going. So we had a great time. I sat here and, I always want to throw movie quotes in here. I always want to throw movie quotes in here because I love movies. I love music. So has anybody ever seen Braveheart? Braveheart is one of my favorite. Yeah, you're like, what the heck does this have to do with Braveheart?
What are you going to pull out of there?
So, Lunch with Wally. So, Braveheart, there's a funny line. There's a great line in Braveheart where the king says, the trouble with Scotland is it's full of Scots. Well, the trouble with having lunch with Wally is you had to watch me eat lunch. So, I was drooling and I had syrup because I had waffles. I had to have waffles.
You had waffles for lunch.
I had waffles because of Frank the Tank. So I had syrup all over my shirt. I hope this is the same shirt. So I hope I got it. Oh, okay. So we had a good time. It was a very casual conversation, just a blast. We have a lot going on. And I'm not going to hold Ryan and Erica up too much longer. Oh, wait a minute. My hat's getting old.
Like you.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. This hat, I think I've had on the YouTube channel, on the YouTube videos for probably about 5 years. I think it's time for a new hat. What do you think? Mm-hmm. Can you guys see how grungy this thing looks? I mean, okay. I work in geckos and I rub my hands all. No, I don't do that.
I hope not.
I think it's time for me. Okay, keep the show going, Nanette. Keep the show going. I'm taking this hat off.
You're going to let them see you without a hat?
I'm going to take this. It's time for change.
Wow. We'll have to see if this happens.
Thank goodness I wore pants.
You'll get to see. That's a good thing, yes. All right. Julie, I said your name before you were here. Erica, I agree. It probably was his fault. It would be his fault, too, why we were off. Oh, look at that. Nobody got to see your bare head.
My bare naked. That sounds
I'm
like
glad
a band.
You had shorts on.
That sounds like a band. Bare naked head.
Bare naked head. Look at that beautiful new hat.
How about that? So it still has the white. I like the white in it. And
it's still white.
So we had a friend, a long time friend, Jan, who used to still keeps reptiles, keeps a lot of fish. And she knocks on the door. She pulls into the driveway. It's like, oh my gosh, somebody's here. I've got to find my hat. Where is it? I can't answer the door without my hat on. So it's Jan. She comes on to the door, hands me a box, says, this was delivered to me by mistake. And it has delivered by mistake written all over the box. So, yeah, I know what's going on here. I opened it up, and sure enough, she has delivered this beautiful black. It's got to be a Blackhawks.
She got tired of seeing your old
She got
grungy
tired
hat.
of seeing the old grungy hat. Okay. Buy me a coffee, folks. We've got a lot going on with Supreme Gecko. I just want to mention really quickly, if you're not a member of Buy Me a Coffee, oh my gosh. We have 2 big launches this month, and this is for the members of Buy Me a Coffee because you guys have stayed with us. We've had, oh my gosh, how many new members this last month alone. I want to thank everybody for joining up the Buy Me a Coffee program. Lots and lots and lots and lots of benefits, but this month we'll have 2 huge benefits that I've been working on for, I don't know how long have I been working on? A long time. So we've got one project that we're working on this whole last probably 30 days or so. And I don't want to kind of spill the beans just yet, but another project I've been working on probably a year and a half. I've had a couple of consultations and talking to people about this tool, this new tool that I'm using. Make sure you get into Buy Me a Coffee so you see this because it will be launched probably in the next week and a half. And that's all I'll say about that. Without further ado, I've known Ryan and Erica. I've known Ryan for probably 20 years. And Erica, I think maybe...
Ryan's not that old.
Well, he's 23. So, yeah, he is. And Erica probably... It's fun. You know what, folks? It's fun to watch our guests in the green room because they're like pointing at each other and pounding on each other. Erica, I've known for probably, I don't know, 7 years. And I don't know of a harder working couple in the hobby than Ryan and Erica. I don't know of a couple that I respect more their opinions and their experience than Ryan. I mean, what Ryan doesn't know, Erica knows. What Erica doesn't know, Ryan knows. And it's just a pleasure to talk to them. It's hard because the only time I really get to see them is reptile shows because they're so busy. And it's like, I jump in and I want to blah, 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 blah. But customers, doggone it. And sure enough, they take all the fun out of everything at a reptile show. But it's always a blast talking to them. And any opportunity that I have to actually talk to them, everybody laughs at me. It is what it is.
Tyler, hi.
Hey, Tyler, how you doing? Let's go ahead and bring on Erica and Ryan without further ado for the 4th time I've said that.
Let's hope I can do this because you haven't shown me this one.
Yeah, I have.
Is this all I do?
Sure, and drop the whole stream. That's what you do.
You're funny.
Hey, I did it.
Hey.
I wasn't texting. I'm fine.
She's got her
okay.
phone,
I've
but
got
she's
mine right here.
in the chat. And I can't defend myself.
It was your fault.
That's a good thing. Try, Nanette, try going over to this button right here. And
This
pressing
one?
it. Yeah, see if that works.
Ooh.
Is that better? Worse? That's worse. Go
Yeah,
to
you
the
just
other
took
one.
me out of the picture. That works for me.
Yeah.
How do I do that?
Go to the other one. Go
What
to
other one?
this one right
That's
there.
He's teaching me how to do this.
This is a learning experience. Guys, I took the surface and I scratched it on what our relationship is and what you guys mean to the community, not just the community, but herp societies, not just in the state, but around the whole country. And what I said earlier about, I don't think I have more respect for 2 people than you guys. Absolutely. I don't say that every show, do I?
No.
I don't. We'll see if we can get away with that. But somebody is going to clip like me saying that like 48 times for all these
It's going
shows.
to be on all of them.
Seriously.
I'm like, wait a minute. I have heard their shows multiple times there, but
Have I ever said that I enjoy all of our guests because the experience that we've had on this show has just been incredible. But from a respect standpoint and a knowledge standpoint, you guys bring it every single time. So thank you very much for all that you do to the community. If I can't say anything more, thank you very much.
Well, we're happy to do it. We love everybody out there that loves reptiles, and we love sharing our passion, and we like doing everything we can to help them. And I don't know, all that stuff's just exciting to us, and we like hanging out with all you other nerds and nerding out on reptiles. That's kind of our happy spot. So we get fulfillment out of doing this. So we appreciate everybody letting us educate them and giving a crap what we say.
And I think it's because of a number of different factors. Number one is your experience. Number two, you're just good people. Number three, you relate to people very, very well. So I think that when somebody's talking to you, they don't feel intimidated or judged.
Oh, I do. Ryan intimidates.
Ryan intimidates you?
I've had some people tell me they're nervous to talk to me.
No.
It drives it, well, and I get it. To some people, I'm a big deal. I still see myself as a nerdy kid playing with toads. Like, I'm still not cool.
He had another person ask if they could get his signature because they're like, "Oh my god, I know who you are."
Weird.
Like,
wow. It's like, I'm happy. If that makes them happy, then I'm excited about it. But for me, I'm like, are you going to steal my identity? Because there's no other reason.
yes,
for
the
this.
8-year-old is going to steal your identity.
They know more.
Hey, anybody could have been behind that 8-year-old.
So when you signed it, did you go like, okay, here
Mickey
you go?
Mouse.
And remember, the first one's free, the next one's $10.
No, I just was happy that I was just surprised somebody asked, and I figured, you know what, if he asked, I'll spend an hour talking to somebody about reptiles. This kid just wants me to write on a piece of paper. I can do that.
That is so cool and well deserved. Well deserved. Tell us about yourselves first of all. I mean, we're going to get into the VivTech business. We're going to get into VivTech products. We're going to talk about what has transpired the last couple of years. We're going to talk about what's coming up in the future. But tell me about Ryan and Erica. Throw the whole VivTech and reptiles. Try to throw that out the door for just a moment. And tell me about Ryan. Tell me about Erica.
Well, outside of reptiles, we have some kids.
We actually technically have a basketball team.
Yeah, we have 5 kids now. We have 3, and then we adopted my nephew, and we're working on getting guardianship of my niece. Just family with some issues that needs help, so that's what we're doing. And and then let's see, outside of reptiles,
You blacksmith.
we're literally in my living room. So I'm just saying, there's not a lot outside of reptiles, but yes, I do blacksmith on the
Yeah,
weekends
let
at a
me help.
historical site.
He works for a National Historic Landmark where I used to work when I was young. And now he blacksmiths on the weekends, and they actually use what he makes to actually like raise money for the society, which is great. Our son actually is a striker, which is like a blacksmith apprentice. And so he goes on the weekends with him, and he's learning the trade so that he can, become an apprentice, or he can become a blacksmith later on too. Wow. And then we just dropped a water pump and a manifold into the car, and our youngest daughter just tried to watch and do that on her little toy truck.
Oh, cute.
So,
oh my gosh.
Exciting things. And we make bread every day, and it's good.
That is so cool. And I know that, above and beyond everything else, we just talked about the reptiles, we talked about the business, but above and beyond everything else, you guys are great parents. You guys have a great family, and everybody goes through ups and downs and backs and forths. And I still remember the time that I was sitting across the table from my oldest son when he was about 13, and the conversation got louder and louder until we're almost yelling at each other. And he said, "You don't love me anymore." And I said, "I never loved you. It's just a bend but don't break kind of thing all the time." And you guys are just right there with that. So hats off to
love
that.
him.
Yeah, our twins actually
One
went
time
to
I did.
their first reptile show when they were 5 days old.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh my god.
I remember that.
They were like,
I remember going, why are you doing
they were in the middle and nobody could touch them.
Yeah.
Wait, I got them pre-made. Not my idea. That was a hit.
Pre-made. I love it.
I'm a little more reckless with my
I'm like,
humans.
why would you do that? And
Exactly.
See,
When you
I'm
do
like,
these-
I'm the dad. I'm like, rub dirt on it, eat it off the ground, you'll be fine.
We got there on number 3. It was like, if you're not bleeding or nothing's broken, oh well.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Life
I'm
goes
just
on.
really used to salmonella, so it's never a problem. Start them off right away.
actually, that's not a
I
problem.
actually had a conversation at a government meeting with the CDC and the herp community, where we actually talked about the possibility of reptile keepers having a slight immunity to reptile salmonellensis because of because of just how exposed to it we are. Because I don't know if you've done this, Wally, when you're talking about wiping stuff on your hat. I have legitimately picked up snake poop, thrown it away, grabbed my sandwich, took a bite, put it back up on and then just kept going. And then 2 seconds later went, oh crap, I should have wiped my hand off
he
first.
says this, but this was again before me. Now there's no food in the reptile. I swear to cowhide that is true. So help you.
I'm just keeping my immunity up is what I'm doing.
Oh my God, there are better ways to lose weight.
And there's a half-eaten, Big Mac in there, and it's like, I thought that was a whole Big Mac a couple of days ago. No,
Oh my God.
Still smells good.
it's okay, really.
I don't
Like
even
underwear.
take an open. Ooh, I don't even take an open can of soda or an open cup or nothing down there.
Oh my gosh.
It just no.
I
I know too much.
I have not had a cup and just grabbed a reptile, a clean one out of the sleeve, and just used that as my cup while I walked around.
A deli cup? Sure. Yeah. Sure. I'm going to do a Bill Murray.
Why are we doing this?
I'm going to do a Bill Murray in Caddyshack, and I'm going to
This
reach
is who
into
we
a-
really are, Nanette.
That's who we are.
We eat sandwiches after we touch poop.
You are screaming.
That's right. I'm going to do the Caddyshack and reach into a gecko tank and pull out a baby Ruth and kind of give it the look and go, it's okay. Really.
That would be this one.
I have
Love
a
it.
fake
Gross.
eyeball in my drawer just for moments where I might need it.
Tell
And
us.
it is my eye color exactly.
Erica's like, can we just let's just
Can
hit the
we-
end
can
button
we-
right
can
now
we do
because
something else
we
here
cannot
first?
top that.
I feel it. Yeah, she just wants to talk about reptiles.
Yeah.
No, I just want to go for UVA. That's all I want.
I have a feeling we're going to top that sometime in this show.
Probably.
2
Going
seconds.
back-
2 seconds.
Nanette just hovered over the leave the studio button, so I
that
might
was
be
an
pulling.
accident.
That
was an accident.
We're going to go serious for just a second. Tell us about your work, both of your works in USARK. Tell us about what you've done for the community. And I'm going to make you, this is going to be painful because you don't ever do this. And it's not comfortable for you to do this. So I'm going to force you to give me about a minute and a half of all that you've done for this great organization.
So part of it is
I
that we
bother
just
Phil.
don't promote it. We just do what we do because we love it. That's part of it. But the
I
other
know.
part of it is I don't remember it all. Older now, and I don't remember any. I don't even know what I ate today. So, but no, with USARK, we've always been huge promoters of USARK. We've helped raise money through online auctions for USARK. We always help at the auctions when we can. Our son's been a van on it. Peyton's walked around with stuff. Yeah, we do anything we can.
He does not like being called a Vanna, by the way.
early in the days of the Herp Society, at one point printed out and collected something like 3,000 petitions against a national bill locally, and we shipped out huge boxes of petitions to DC to all of that in conjunction with USARK. And then while I was part of the Herp Society in Wisconsin, we did a lot of work with USARK, and I'd like to say that we were a big part of why Wisconsin is still very free in how you're able to keep your animals.
We also, when people reach out to us, we give them advice on things that have been done in Illinois or things that have been done in Wisconsin or other states from people that we've talked to. Or when we've talked to Phil and given them advice on how to proceed, where they can proceed to, and given them some resources as well so that they can do good. And it's usually for like a township level, like something like that's township level or maybe even county. But we do give them good advice. And so far, we've not had one that didn't have a good outcome because they took the advice that was set forth by USARK before and then listened and saw the results that have come from it, from bigger things down to smaller things. So we're helping not scale it up, but actually kind of like scale it down and make it more accessible to people who do need help in their town level, because Phil and Vanessa can't be everywhere at once. That's impossible. Also, one of my favorite pastimes is bugging the crap out of Phil.
Yeah. Me and Erica have Phil's cell phone, and we can threaten him with that. have his number.
You're like,
I know where-
haha.
I know where you live, and I know all your phone numbers.
And I'll call you at 2 a.m.
He
And
said
this is a full-time position.
Yeah, that's sometimes been a thing.
This is a full-time job. I just saw that Intrepid Exotics jumped in, and I know Intrepid Exotics is doing some amazing things as a Floridian. So I wanted to touch on this before we got into anything, and I would forget because, again, just like you, Ryan, I forget the next 5 minutes if I don't say something right now. Tell us how you guys got into reptiles. Tell us how the whole venture started. And it's probably very different for both of you. So either one, sure, Erica, let's start with you.
common.
How I got into reptiles, period? All right.
Period.
Well,
Right from the beginning.
I honestly don't
Wait, hold on.
remember.
I think I do. You
Okay.
like dinosaurs?
No, hold on. Nope. I don't
I know you
remember.
were the dinosaurs.
I don't remember not liking reptiles. My earliest memory of them, I've been told I jumped into ponds after frogs and chased snakes before that, even as like a toddler.
Mhm.
But my first memory was when I was about 5, and we were at a family reunion at some park that had some barn pavilion thing. I don't really remember, but I remember that the toadlets were all morphing out. So there was billions of tiny little toadlets around the pond in the grass. So I got a whole bunch of Dixie cups, and I filled Dixie cups, like 8 of them, with filled with solo cups of toadlets. And then I sat in the grass and just dumped piles of toadlets on me and let them climb around. Now, probably
That is
as a
my
little
You
kid.
still do that.
Oh,
You
totally. I
still
would
do that.
totally do that.
Yeah.
Totally.
But
And then eat a sandwich afterwards.
exactly. Well, there was food there too. I'm sure I probably was eating right after I touched toads and was covered in pee. But no, it's just always been a thing. I started keeping my first herps when I was like 7 or 8. And my stepdad at the time was a roofer. So he always brought home cool stuff. Like he'd find I didn't know at the time, but grazed tree frogs that are local to us. He brought home like a walking stick. He found a bat that had died but been preserved really well. So he brought that home to kind of show me. Like he liked nature and sciencey stuff, and he brought that stuff home, and I always jumped on it too. And eventually I caught my first salamanders when I was a kid and kept them. And I've just never not loved reptiles. I've gone a couple of years of my life without one. But literally since I was 7, I've probably only spent 5 years without a reptile in my house.
Wow. That's cool in that this experience, this journey has lasted so long, and not just leopard geckos or snakes or something like that. It's expanded so much.
Oh, it's Erica's turn.
Now Nanette's saying it's your turn, Erica.
Oh, he was going to forget. I can just tell.
Oh, I know. I was feeling
Nanette's
that. I
rules.
was just like, go on. No, so what he didn't mention was that he actually loved his little leopard gecko so much. He actually has a little urn of her cremains. Of his little first leopard gecko.
I found mini urns, and then I cremated her, and she's in my.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
still, and it's been
Yeah, she actually lived to be
A long time.
22 years old, and she was I got her in 1998 as an adult, probably wild caught.
Oh my gosh.
no.
Wow.
So I wanted to throw that
That
out
is
there.
cool.
He
That's
talks
really
like
cool.
tough sometimes, but he's kind of there with his little. Yeah,
Oh, I'm a huge sucker for my animals.
he is. And we still have his first Sabu python too, which actually recently became a dad.
Yep.
Congratulations.
That was actually his first exotic snake, and he bought it only because it was orange.
Well, you
That
have
was
to.
from,
It's
that was
orange.
from Hoffers.
Impulse
That was
buys,
before-
ladies
that was
and gentlemen.
That was from Hoffers before
wow.
I worked there. Shane sold me that snake.
Wow.
Oh, I forgot that Shane worked there. That's right.
Yeah,
You worked
Shane.
at Hoffers?
I worked at Hoffers with Shane and Eric. Yep,
Really?
I was there
When?
a couple years. Yeah, that's actually where I met Carl Cook and started field herping. Before he passed away, he was a mentor for me in
And
field
we have his
herping, and
rosy boa.
yeah, gave me a whole bunch of stuff. After he passed away, his wife gifted me his rosy boa that he used to do education with, and it's in Peyton's room. I still have him. His
Oh my
name's
gosh.
Yeah.
How long ago did you work at Hoffers?
I worked at Hoffers in like 2008, 2009, 2007 to 2009, somewhere in there.
We've probably walked in there
Heck,
several
Hoffers,
times.
Hoffers is
Well,
yeah, Hoffers is where I found the hobby. If you guys want, actually, to be honest, Hoffers is really what woke me up to the hobby in general. So I grew up loving reptiles, but I always lived in small towns or out in the country. I really never knew there were societies or events or reptile shows or, the internet didn't exist. So like I moved a lot, and I read every reptile book at every library at every school I went to, and that's all I ever had. And when I was in college, I found Hoffer's, and then that's a way to find a reptile store, like a store with reptiles. Holy crap! It was one of the second largest independent pet store in the country.
Yeah.
And
It was
unbelievable store. And I found it and then started going there, got to know the guys. And then when they were looking for somebody, I was so regular talking to Shane and Eric that they ended up hiring me. And then that's working with Shane and Eric is where I learned about the bells and reptile industries and the whole channel and everything. And then I started doing reptile education there. I borrowed some snakes to do an educational talk, and that's what kicked me off in doing the Herp Society. And yeah, Hoffer's was a huge springboard for everything in my life and my passion for herps. And Eric and Shane were a huge part of that.
Part two of this interview. Part two of this interview is next week as we talk about Hoffer's and Mike Hoffer and Joe Olenek.
Yep. Joe worked at Central while I was there. I still got to talk to him all the time.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Erica, what got you into...
I've got to go back and look at my dates when I worked at Hoffer's. I might have been working there when they were there. And
You weren't there.
You worked with Nanette, maybe?
No, I didn't work with Nanette, but I worked. Melissa was there. Joe was there. Yeah, there's a bunch of a lot.
You would have known if I was there because I beelined it from the front door to the fish room because that's the only area I would work in because I didn't like anything else. And I took straight shot right in as fast as I could.
Erica, it's your turn, but can I interrupt for just 1 minute? Joe Olenek tells one of the funniest stories I've ever heard in the reptile community where somebody brought in a baby rattler in a 10-gallon tank, and they put it in the bathroom in the back of the store, and they closed the door. And Joe, in tune with what rattlesnakes do and the sounds and everything, and I don't know if you do this in any room that you walk into in the house. You walk in, and before you flip on the lights, you close the door, and then you're reaching for the lights. He said that in that millisecond between the time that he shut the door in this darkness, he heard the and it said it gave him chills all the way down before he could hit that light. And it's just I can feel that, sensation right now.
He had no idea they had done it.
Yeah,
Nope.
I herp
right
a
out
lot
that
in the
door.
wild, and I've stepped off rocks and logs and heard that and puckered myself real time.
Erica, sorry for interrupting. Go ahead and tell us how you started in this reptile community.
I thought it was a pretty PC way to put it.
Wow. They are being real.
Get unpuckered. Go ahead.
All right, watch what we're saying.
You got this.
So, really, you had to. I was apparently like a small kid, like ours are at this age, and we went to see the new wolf exhibit at the Brookfield Zoo. Actually, they were unveiling that when they redid part of it, and I was on my uncle's shoulders with my dad. And they put me down, and I wandered off, and instead of looking at the wolves being put out into the exhibit and the excitement, I was like, "Woo!" Because all the garter snakes were coming out of a hibernaculum that was by a bench, and apparently that was then everybody knew, crap, she's a reptile person because nobody in my family was really that cool with reptiles. My dad actually was the most tolerant of reptiles. And then everybody else just kind of developed a tolerance. But yeah, the first ones I had were green anoles that were gifted to me. But actually, Ryan and I just on Monday were talking about the first reptiles that we were exposed to, where we got to see them for sale at a pet store. And the first one that I actually was saving up for was, believe it or not, a lace monitor. That was the first one I ever saw.
Yeah, that was her first interaction with a reptile for sale.
Yeah, was a lace monitor. And I was like, cool. And my parents talked to the guy, and they're like, yeah, this would be great for, your 10-year-old daughter. And I was like, hell yeah, let's go.
And at that time,
and it was only 60.
They weren't in the country, they weren't all over the place. That would have been
Oh, it was smuggled. I think that's why they got shut down.
That would have been like a $30,000 lizard.
It was 60.
Right.
$60,000 lizard. Sorry.
Oh.
It was gorgeous, though. It was
Did you got it?
No, I couldn't
Okay.
save up my mom that fast before they got shut down, and now I'm kind of understanding why.
Couldn't get to the 60 grand before.
But it wasn't lace monitor like the lace monitors now. It was it's another common name for lace monitor, but it's where it has the reticulated pattern, like the lacy
Oh
pattern.
yeah, it's just not the Bell's phase; it's the normal phase.
It was gorgeous though,
Wow.
super sweet and docile animal because it's probably dehydrated and starving to death, and perfect for a 10-year-old little girl. I was like, yes, and my parents were like, well, all right, like that's what they said was okay for her. So I was only like $10 away or something like that. It was like horrible.
Okay, so you're not hearing. It was $60, you said?
Yeah.
Okay, it wasn't a lace monitor, honey. You're misremembering.
No, it said lace monitor on the thing.
Okay.
Because when I saw a lace monitor like at a reptile show, I was very confused why it didn't look like the thing that said lace monitor at the pet store.
This is one of those where the common name or the name they put on the tank might not have been right.
That's what I'm trying to tell
Gotcha.
you.
Okay. No, I thought you said you actually came in contact with a
I
lace.
did. I just didn't know what kind of lace monitor it was because it just said lace and not actually binomial name, or I can't remember what binomial name was at that point.
Let it go, Ryan. Just let it go, Ryan.
I totally get you.
What a great first pet. That is wonderful.
So when I got the leopard gecko, I don't know if I ever told you this. What I was actually going to get, and again before the internet, what I was actually going to get because I thought they looked way cooler was a pegu.
Oh yeah, because I'm the idiot.
Oh,
There was nothing that said they were all little, and there was no internet, and like research was if you could find a book on reptiles.
Yeah, well, the friendly little pet store person said all lace monitors are fine for 10-year-olds, so I knew.
I remember those good old days without the internet, and you just had to ask anybody that you possibly could about the care.
And that's like, why did we invite these people?
Now I have
I'm
the internet.
enjoying
Yeah, I love this.
This is great. It's not
Now we
us.
have the internet. And I'm chasing after books that were from before the internet.
Mhm.
Yes.
Like
Ironically.
our library is all old books.
Ooh, actually,
Yes.
we just got a book that was signed by Offenberg on one of the schemes. I don't remember what scheme it
Walter
was.
Offenberg was a biologist. I want to say herpetologist in the Komodo area. He did a lot of stuff in the South Pacific. So the peacock monitors that we work with, that we have, that's one of our major pinnacles of our collection. That's the largest collection that we're aware of peacock monitors in captivity. Are named after him, Varanus Offenberg. So it's kind of cool to have his signature on one of his papers or his books.
Wow. You guys work with a lot of different animals. So, you know me, I'm like blinders, geckos. And if you're talking about something not gecko, you might as well be talking about world politics to me because I'll just go, uh-huh. But
Well, I can talk with you all day.
Yeah, and I'll just me and Lynette, we're gonna go get coffee somewhere. We'll be
We'll
fine.
go get coffee.
tell us
I'm out.
about some of the very unusual, rare animals that you're keeping currently. And folks, we're going to talk about VivTech in just a second. If you've purchased a VivTech product, leave a comment down below in the comments and let us know what you purchased. What are some of the really weird, strange, rare animals that you guys are working with currently?
Pink tongue skinks.
We did just pick up a pair of pink tongue skinks from the show. So,
So shout out to Josh Alder at Exotic Empire for those guys.
They're imported European captive bred ones, so that's pretty awesome.
Yes.
Unrelated to the U.S.
And there's the yellow.
But no, behind us right here, that's a Mertens monitor from Mike Stefani. We also keep our biggest love and passion is varanids, so monitors, and crocodilians. If you come look at our library, it is 50% of our books are crocodilians, and she's going to go get something really cool to just show you.
Yeah.
But all of our books are mostly crocodilians and varanids. But so we focus our varanids on peacock monitors and spinulosus or spiny neck mangroves. There's only been 3 that I'm aware of captive breedings in the United States of spinulosus, and there's only a few clutches every year of peacock monitors. So we're trying to get them more established in captivity and get them breeding more often because they're really cool species. And the peacock monitors come from a small island that who knows, could ant, rat, something could get on there and they might go away. So this is another project that we have at the house. It's not a gecko. I don't know if you can see how cool it is,
Oh
but it is
my
as
God.
blue as my shirt. So
Say
this
that, I'm
is
sorry, Ryan. Say that again.
this is as blue as my shirt. You can see him. This is an exanthic rhino rat. So
I like
when
how
you,
he's posing.
so yeah,
Wow.
he's just sitting there nice. So exanthic pulls out all the yellows, right? So in
Yeah.
geckos and things like that, other snakes, you see black and white. Exanthic ball pythons are black and white because their pigmentation is made out of black and yellow. If you take a lot of geckos, same thing. A lot of blacks and yellows, which give you less browns. This snake in the wild is neon green, right? Or rhino rats are bright green. If you take away the yellow, you're left with a really vibrant blue.
Wow.
Yeah, they're taking pictures, so that's why he's talking weird.
How is this brand new in the hobby?
There are 6 adult blue ones in Europe that are being bred. As far as I'm aware, he's the only adult visual in the United States.
Wow.
I know there's some hets being grown up out there, and I know there's some baby blues that are still being grown up too. But I think he's the only adult. But don't quote me; I'm not sure.
So you
and
said it
then-
on a live show, Ryan. Now you've quoted.
It's out there. I'll do a little flip for.
one That's a cool project with a friend of ours. So that was really cool. He came to us and asked if I found that animal, got him in contact with the person that had it, brokered the sale. And then afterwards he was like, you know what? I love this thing, but I want to keep it, but I need to thin out some of my time. So he's like, you want to do a 50-50 split and take it.
Wow.
And do a breeding loan. And I was like, you mean it lives at my house? Yeah, that's cool. I'm fine with that. I'll stare at that thing all day.
Done deal.
And then Erica she keeps handing me stuff. She wants me to show you guys all the cool stuff. So there's something else we got
that's what we want.
Oh,
from
What is it?
Luke from Luke's Bugs.
Oh,
Luke and his family are some of the coolest people. We met them last year at Schaumburg and we invited them over to the house right away. They came over, walked through, checked out all of our stuff. And every time I see him, he tosses me a bag of mantids. So I hand them out to a lot of our friends and friends' kids that really like insects and stuff like that. So I don't even know what species this is. I just got a really cool big female adult mantis. He's
And
like,
we were told
here you
that-
go.
And we were told that it was okay. Like,
So
that's not a mantis, though, is it? Is that a walking
Yeah.
stick?
no, this is a stick mantis.
Wow.
stick mantis.
Okay. Very
So it's some
cool.
kind of mantid, but it looks like a stick bug.
Wow.
So we do some invertebrates. For those of you that like isopods, the Montenegros are like the clown isopods.
Mhm.
Me and Charles Sherman brought those in 2012, way before there was a huge craze. I remember getting tons of crazy stuff back then. And what's funny to me is a lot of the guys I love talking to, that's not even the back in the day. That's still to a lot of the people in the hobby now. That's so long ago. And for the people that I talk to, they're like, yeah, we were 30 years in by then. You know,
The clowns. I think of it as the clowns are anything before the clowns are like BC. You know.
Yeah, right. Those were like the first, like, oh my God,
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
potato
yes.
bugs can look like that. That was the first. I think that we all went, what, how, why, what's that? Because I was already doing isopods and keeping cultures. Now what do I have? Oh, this is the other thing we're doing now, and hopefully I don't drop it.
because it
Oh, please
does well
don't.
with
What
UVA.
is that?
Button quails.
Oh, it's your button quail.
Oh yes. Oh,
Don't drop
you
it.
almost dropped it.
Because we're
I
using
didn't
it.
though. So part of that is because button quails are super awesome feeders for eggs, and they produce a bunch of eggs, which is awesome for a lot of our snakes. And then as a bird, they are a leaner, better food source. So that's something that we're working with. And I do like the fact that I don't have to feed off the animals. I can literally just feed off a lot of their eggs. But at some point
okay.
we'll be doing some animals too, and but do frozen. But so we're doing that, and then as well as that, the birds are also really sensitive to UVA and UVB. And flicker and things like that. So we're utilizing these guys to kind of test some of our UVA for birds and how they react to it, how they react to their food and things with it. and then which kind of how if this affects their growth rates or their changes in feather development and things like that. So we're trying to do more anecdotal and internal research, but just so that we can start to find which ways we want to start getting out into the to universities and things and say, hey, we've seen this happen with our bulbs. We want to know if we can help, like if we can work with you guys to do a study and see what's causing that, or we're talking with a lot of them with UVA and reptiles too. At IHS International Herp Symposium was just this last week, and we spoke at that. And we were talking with some university professors about doing some studies on UVA and chemical changes within the brain and cortisol reductions because of UVA and stuff, and how it can reduce stress. So it's there's tons of people especially looking for better bird lights, and the problem with birds is they can see the flicker of fluorescent, so you have to have really high-end drivers on it, and so they're not flickering so they flicker at a higher rate than the birds can see. And if you don't do that, they get stressed, they pick, they stop eating, they can get really depressed. It basically drives them crazy. So this actually can help to reduce or to actually offset a lot of the major problems they have too. If they haven't pulled out the follicles of their feathers, they can regenerate feathers, they can regrow, it can help them mentally stable out and become happier, especially because birds are significantly affected by the hormonal effects of UVA.
Yep. So a lot of times, so parrots were given like psychotropic drugs. So they were given drugs to try to move, enhancers or sedatives, things like that, to help them. And we're finding that, like, it's been known that UVB lights are really good for them, especially like African gray parrots or cockatiels. Anybody who has those, they are great for them because they are so prolific, and African grays have a very high vitamin D need. But also it helps them to see their world in a different way because they have a higher rate of iridescence. But any bird that has like blues or whites in it actually has an even higher level of iridescence in those color patches. And so what's cool about the UV is that it's kind of like their way, because like raptors don't see UV very well. They see in the violet spectrum, but not in the UV spectrum. So like passerines and parrots kind of like flick a little wing or like flutter their wings or like up their like chest, and you can kind of see like the underside of some of their feathers. And it's a really cryptic way for them to signal at one another or at other species without having to expend a lot of like energy or to create chronic stress in them. So expose themselves. That's one of the things that we're finding in a lot of the research that we've been doing. And then we're trying to see how much of that can expand out to like our button quail and things like that. Like all the babies immediately hunker towards the UV. The adults all hunker towards the UV. We actually have a broody female who never actually finishes her job, but she's a broody female that actually broods underneath the UV light. She kicks everybody else out and just stays underneath the UV light, and takes care of all the chicks.
Interesting. I find this absolutely fascinating that what you're doing, and it's a good time to jump into VivTech and what you're doing with VivTech. But we're kind of going into the future and what you're doing to expand the research and how it relates to other animals, not just geckos and monitors and snakes, but also birds. And we talked at the show plants maybe, and what the impact is with some of these lighting requirements. You talk about the birds and flashing and not dancing and all because it's just easier for them, and it's part of the whole UVB. I kind of think of the same. I'm the same way. I just don't dance. I just like to look good, and that's what attracts the women. That's what brings all the girls.
I'm glad I walked out.
For the insecurity, keeping all the girls away.
Then let's go. So another thing that we found was really interesting when you're talking about other animals is we can't like publicize like on our website what zoos, because we have to go through marketing and all that stuff. However, we can in conversations talk about zoos that we work with. And there are a couple of zoos that we work with. We're up to about 16 or 18 zoos that are using our products right now. And they're not just using them on reptiles. They're using them on everything, including one of them is using them on marsupials, specifically koalas, because koalas are very prone to vitamin D issues and things like that, because in the wild, eucalyptus actually refracts. So it causes the light to jump all over the place, and kind of, it's like similar to like you sitting out there with like the tin foil, like in the old days to get a tan.
Yeah.
It used to refract. So if you're above like the leaf top, you're getting 30% more refraction. If you're underneath, you get 10% more. And they didn't take this into consideration when they built their enclosures. So the zoo asked us, and we worked with them, and we decked them out with it. Some zoos are working with their tamarins and their marmosets to help offset some of their bone issues and their fur pulling issues, and then the aggression that they're seeing between each other.
Yeah,
oh my God, maybe that's what we should do, the twins.
They're still seeing, like, mammals can still have metabolic bone disease and issues. So there's still, this is the thing that we kind of forget about.
Issues.
Yeah, especially with UVB is, and with the conversation about all these different things, people are like, it's crazy, you're putting bulbs on monkeys and it affects them. It's crazy to me that that's crazy to people.
Yes.
So that's where the problem for me comes when we talk UV, because our conversations, and this is a Eurocentric mentality of animal keeping thousands of years. We look at we
anthropomorphize.
Yeah, basically, and we look at the animals based in their care too, based on what do they need to not die. And that's
human bias.
Yeah, well, it's human bias, and then it's the basis of, okay, we like Dave Barker when he spoke at the Midwest Herb Symposium. And Erica I didn't even get to see part of this talk because I was running the whole thing all over the place.
I quote this all the time.
So she told me about it, was sending me messages and video of it as I was out there, and other friends were too. And basically, he talks about it this way. He said, when let's say that's the dead parakeet theory, and this is basically what happens with all animals that end up in captivity, and it's not the best way to do it, but it's kind of how it goes.
It's the only way
it's the only way we've done it in the past. But we'll go a different direction in a second with that. But basically, they caught a parakeet and they put it in a cage, and it was really pretty, and it lived for a couple of days, and then it died. And then they went, oh, well, it needs water. So you put water in there, and then you get another one, and it lives for a little longer, and then it dies. And then, oh, well, it needs food. So you give it food, and then it eats, and then it gives a little longer. And you basically just keep doing that until it stops. You add enough to the husbandry that the animal stops dying in the time frame that you have said is its lifespan. And then at that point, it doesn't die with it. It makes it to the end of its lifespan. That's successful. The problem with that thinking is, how many people do you know that are alive but they aren't living? Right. Like, just because they're actually physically alive doesn't mean that they're happy, interacting with their environment, healthy, doing well. It just means that they're not dead. Well, so the basis of husbandry for all animals in captivity is not dead.
It's a very human bias, because this is how humanity has also evolved. Like 20 used to be long in the tooth.
Yeah.
Now you say, it's a 20-year-old and everybody goes, oh God, they're making decisions. Like now it's a 30-year-old and you're like, okay, well, my 30-year-old's still living at home. So we keep moving out our longevity, and then like what we consider a sub-adult, and then what we consider an adult. And that's the same way we do it with animals. Now adults and sub-adults are different and longer and change, because it's all based on how we have been as a society. And then we just apply those standards to animal care, because that's the only way we've been able to measure is, okay, well, we live longer than grandma. Score. All right, let's go.
Yeah. And the whole idea behind VivTech completely, the whole premise of it is really just, we want to come at it from the other side. We want to go, okay, I'm outside in Indonesia, standing where they live. What can I make in a box? And what can I just not physically do? What's not technologically possible? And let's cut out the impossibilities and then get down to the difficulties and then get down to the stuff we can do and figure out how we can advance ourselves that way. So do they need UV to live? A lot of species don't. But it affects their hormone regulation, their serotonin development in their brain, which regulates their natural behaviors, decreases cortisol from stress, which allows them to not increases their immune system
It
strength.
actually decreases aggression.
It decreases aggression, allows them to see all of the bioluminescence articles we're seeing in reptiles lately. Isn't like bioluminescent algae where you shake it and you can see it. It's bioluminescence under wavelengths of UVA that they can see that we can't.
Yep. So it's 265 or lower.
365. Yeah.
I'm sorry, not 265. 365 or lower. So a lot of times when people get black lights, they're getting 390 or something like that, which is like, here's the violet spectrum, and then here's where they are. And like, there's a lot of overlaps. You're still seeing a lot of visual line. When you're getting like the 365 ones, you are in the UVA spectrum. So you still have a way to go, but you are like in there. But it's not enough where like if I shined it on Ryan, I could cause, any damage or, anything like that. And my Frenchie's being a twit. I'm so sorry if you guys can hear that.
But no, I like that. If we do things the right way, our animals should always live longer in the wild than in the wild.
But that's such a divert kind of mentality. And I'll say that I am still on the American side, even though when I kept fish, 150 years ago, everything that I read was German. Can you just translate this paragraph in this book on apistogrammas, these little teeny tiny fish?
Yep.
Because I want to know. So everything I was reading was German, and I tried to bring it in, but I got into reptiles, and it's everything. I want to keep it in as small of a box as I possibly can because I get to keep more geckos.
Apistogramma agassiz triple flame, yes.
Yeah, and it's hard to break away from that. It really is. So it's kind of, like you were saying, Europe has been doing this for years, but it's hard for us to break away from that. Why is it so hard for us to accept the fact that we need to do more than just keep them alive? We need to sustain their behaviors and their care.
I think there's a couple pieces to this. And one thing I want to bring up before we go down this road is this road gets really muddy really fast.
I would say travel this carefully.
Because what we're talking, we get into the racks versus tubs versus this versus naturalistic versus indoor, outdoor, all the different ways and people put stakes in the ground that you are a bad or good keeper if you do or don't.
Yeah.
And here's the problem with everyone's thinking and what everyone needs to do to change this narrative to be a better conversation. We need to change what and who we're talking about. There is a difference between an entry-level keeper, a hobbyist breeder, and an industrial breeding facility. When we're talking about facilities that are breeding for the pet trade, they're producing the animals we see in pet stores, they need to produce a significant amount of animals in a very small space in order for those animals to be available and be affordable. They can do this for every pair of ball pythons, and your normal ball python will be $1,000. There will only be 50 of them available a year because no one will be able to make that many. So they will always be out of reach, and it would destroy the industry. So that they have to make certain sacrifices and ethical decisions. And the goal is to try and to make it as best as you can to the point where you can continue to create the animals. You do have to make money. Everybody who says it's all about money, guys, that's what every business that exists, including nonprofits, everyone has to make money to exist. So yes, it is about money, but that's because without it, the company doesn't exist. The animals all go away. So that whole comment of it's only about the money is such a weird comment to me because it has to exist. So, but it's the idea of the ethical side of it. So as long as they're driving ethically, Justin Kabilka keeps his animals beautifully. Josh's frogs, amazing animal care.
And I'll use VivTech lighting.
Yeah, right. Like, and
just
well,
saying,
you
Josh's
guys
frogs
we all take great care of our animals. Now, you have people that are on that Justin Kabilka level of ball python breeding where he's doing the best he can with the technology that's available to produce animals, but also keep them happy and healthy as he can. Now, is taking away the UVA something that is a negative or a positive? Yes, it sucks that they don't have it. It can negatively affect them. However, it's right now there's nothing we have technologically that we can put into those systems that'll still allow him to do that and add that. Now we're trying to get there, and that we will get there at a point.
And he encourages
and
it.
I've had that conversation with a lot of those guys and the rack manufacturers. They want to move forward with it, We just got to do it in a way that still allows them to keep animals like that, because that is animal production. So even if you're thinking about like I compare our hobby to like farming. You have grandma and her 4 cows. She has her YouTube and she talks about how great they are, and they all have names and bows on their heads. And that's awesome. And that's fantastic. And she should do that. And they all get healthy, grass-fed crap from around the world. And that's amazing. That's an awesome person and an awesome keeper. And you can be her. And then there's the family farm, which is a big farm. It's an actual business, but it's small, family run. The Iowa Dairy Farmer on Instagram, great guy to follow, especially for herpers. Even though it has nothing to do with us, he does a great job of presenting
and the conversation.
Yeah, he does a great job of presenting himself and his industry in a way that answers questions that animal rights groups throw at them, but is very transparent and open, and he makes it a great conversation. So definitely check him out. But that's the breed. That's us. That's us, Wally. I would say the hobby. Yep.
Yeah.
So like that's the hobby breeder,
Yep.
the small business. We're not packed into little barns.
Careful, you almost hit me.
Sorry, we're not packed into little barns. We have bigger enclosures for some stuff, but we still have racks. We still have space. We still have small grow out cages, things like that. We still are space conscious because we're doing a lot more animals. So that's a different. Now we're able to add UV into a lot of our cages. Our tubs are able to be bigger than someone who's producing a lot more because we have a little more space and we can provide them with that. And then you have, like I said, so that's that level. But then you have like the industrial farming, and then you have big breeders. They all have to make ethical decisions. I feel like our industry has made better ethical decisions than the cattle and beef industry. So like, we're not the worst. It's not great. It's not the wild, but it is significantly better in how these animals are kept than a lot of things that are kept for mass production.
I tend to agree with that. It still seems like we have some, obviously we have some bad practices in the hobby. I think that the trend is to, I think the trend in the last 4, 5, 6 years is to take better care of the animals and not, box breed them.
Yep.
The hard part for me is, and my stance on this, Ryan, is that I'm trapped right in the middle. I have animals that I've given. I just wanted to point out 2 of your animals are sitting the lime. I can't pronounce the name, or else I would. The lime green, and I have robustus, and I had babies recently. Woo! Awesome. Anyways, so I try to give them bigger enclosures for some of them. But if I'm breeding crested geckos and that's driving my business, I can't keep 24 by 24 by 24s for every single individual animal. I just can't. I can't.
Yep.
So
where are you going to stay?
Right, right. Well, not me, but where would you stay? So I have to try to make that decision between the hobby and the business, and I have to kind of blend that. And I think a lot of hobbyists are moving toward that. What I think the average hobbyist is looking for is information that's easily consumed by somebody that has proven it out. I think we are starving for this information.
Right.
So another interesting thing is, Jay, you can have my autograph. You made me happy. All right. So one of the things that came up recently, and I was talking to Ryan about this, is that the next generation that's coming up. So like Peyton, Crystal, like all those people are coming up, and then anybody that's in their late teens, early 20s. They're all looking for social proof. They grew up in the time of the great COVID, unfortunately. Yeah. And what they never had one source to trust. Like we all grew up with one source to trust.
Yes.
Like Encyclopedia Britannica. If it wasn't in there, you didn't believe it. That's just how it is. Right. Now they have they never have a source that they can trust. They have all these other places that are telling them not to trust each other, but there's no one unified voice. So a lot of times these keepers are looking for social proof. And that is where your podcasts actually come in, other people's podcasts come in, and it becomes digestible information that they take to heart because they need that social proof more than they need an easy to follow care sheet.
Yep.
And it's gotten away from, it's moved away from, I don't know, so I'm just going to call up Ryan. I don't do that anymore. I just go out to YouTube and I find out who's the top contributor, who has the most followers, and I kind of take their advice. So sorry, Ryan, you're no longer my go-to person. If they dance, I'm all over it, man.
I'll try to dance more.
Please. Dude.
That's about all I got.
Thank you for doing the overbite too.
No, honestly,
Wow.
I think that's great. The one thing but it also ends up becoming this double-edged sword for people too, because as much information is out there, there's no source, there's no way to track if they know what they're talking about. I specifically know people that have messaged me to ask me a question about an animal, and then I saw later why they were asking. It's because they were answering someone else's question on an animal they'd never seen before.
But they didn't answer it fully right.
So but they didn't answer it right. But they asked me the question so they could answer it, so they could feel like the expert. And I was like, I didn't take offense. I'm like, I kind of just giggled at it.
I know.
So like, whatever. But at the same time, for me, there was just that moment of
At least pull it out.
that's the one thing people don't realize. You don't know people online. Wally and Annette, you guys have been in our house. You know our kids. You have been to your house. We know each other. Like, that's different than the thousands of people we're friends with on Facebook who, like, you don't really know someone. So that's this other part where, like, that is, it makes everything cloudy. But that's where a lot of our stuff and our aim is at being very transparent, being very clear with what we're saying. We love giving out any information we can. We try to continue to be a resource for people.
But also back it up with resources. We actually often go, we found this out from Wally, or Wally does a good talk on this, or so-and-so, like Dave Kaufman does a good talk on this part.
Yep.
Like, go find these people if you don't believe
or
us.
Here's a paper or an article, or here's
I'm saying for like the podcast.
But here's someone you should talk to.
But the problem is that you're addressing the needs of probably 2 to 3 to 4% of the keepers out there, right?
But that's 2 to 3 to 4% of the keepers that are now more empowered, who can now empower 2 to 3 to 4% of the other keepers that they know that I don't know.
And I'm not saying that's wrong. I think that we need to do that. We need to kind of step up and step out and make the information that we have available more available. In our social media worlds, I think that we are bombarded with TikTok videos and Wally Kern's YouTube shorts where he just, hey, look at my pretty gecko, and how to decipher and kind of try to walk through that and put the pretty stuff to the side and try to absorb more of the important details. That's the hard part for the average hobbyist.
I want to answer this real quick.
Please do.
This is another point that I have. That's something else that I want to change, and I want everyone to think about this a little bit differently. It's fine.
Okay.
Nanette,
you feel me.
I do.
This is a soapbox you know well. Don't worry.
I know.
When we talk about keepers, and one of the problems we all face is that letting people get something, not have the information, go home, they don't have the info, they kill the animal, they don't do well, whatever. I don't blame people for that, and I don't think that we need to keep talking about it like that, because let's change what we're talking about. We're talking about the American buying experience in anything. Wally, if Erica tells me the dogs need food, I do not become a dog nutritionist.
Right.
She says they are allergic to chicken and beef, try to get lamb, and try to get, you want these 3 things. Here's your 3 green flags, here's your 3 red flags, get something in the middle of the price range. I look at the food, maybe I jump on Amazon and Google and I just make sure it hasn't been recalled, and I pick one that's in the middle and I go, that one's purple and it looks pretty and it caught my eye, I don't know anything, hopefully somebody else does.
Yes.
But that's how you do anything. When you go to Walmart for a pillow, you don't research the pillows, you just go grab a pillow. That's everything that we do is like that. Now think about a pet store too. Dog food, same thing. Cat food, you need a fish, you just go in and you go to the aisle and you get your stuff. Now, reptile, what we've done is the industry as a whole has gone, reptiles are easy and anyone can keep them. And that is totally true. Once you have the knowledge to do it. So look at saltwater. I love saltwater aquarists and I love what they did. They're almost as big as the reptile industry. And what they did is they went, yes, you can, but it's super expensive and it's really hard and you'll fail if you don't do research. and it's true that you will fail if you don't do some research. But my 32 BioCube, once I stopped screwing with it and it was mature, I'm going to tell you this, and I did water changes like once a year.
Yep.
And it did phenomenal.
Yep.
But I had to get there and learn. If we would have done that with reptile, if we would have said, yes, anyone can keep them, it is easy, but you do need to set them up right at first and get through that stage and then understand. And we didn't set it up like that. So when people go in and they read in the aisle with no help, complete bearded dragon kit, what about that name says I need to go research more and I might not have everything I need? Yep. It is a complete bearded dragon kit for someone like me or you who understands that this may not be the best. Sand might not be, the water bowl's going to dry out. I need to soak them a couple times a week. You need to change up a couple things or just make sure it's set up in a certain way. And we have the knowledge of what could happen and go wrong, so we're going to mitigate some of those issues. Little Tommy and his mom don't have that knowledge, but they're being set up in a way to say you are empowered to, you have everything you need. The people who are failing are not the entry-level keepers. The people who are failing are the manufacturers who are putting things out there that are allowing them to feel like that. And that was something that I always fought and have fought forever, is trying to change the narrative to stop someone from wanting to grab something off the shelf right away, or at least if they do, forcing some sort of triggered response of learning later. Like, it bothers me that big box stores, with all of their rewards programs, you don't buy an animal, swipe your card, and then 48 hours later get an email that you just bought a leopard gecko and here's some care sheets information.
Or asking,
how hard is that?
Hey, how is your leopard gecko doing? What did you name it?
Yeah.
Like, is it still alive?
Like, I'm frustrated with
Is it still on?
Yeah.
Is it still on?
Right? Like, I'm frustrated with the companies for that, not the individuals. So, but that is something else that knowing that we as the breeders and the sellers, when we do have people at a show, is when you need to be a seller. But I don't sell stuff by selling stuff. I sell stuff by I'm gonna get really excited about this, and then I'm gonna make you really excited about it, and then you're gonna want to be a part of how excited I am about the thing I'm excited about.
That's how he got me to marry him.
Exactly.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go. I feel the same exact way. I am a terrible salesperson because it's like, I'm looking for a gecko. Oh, these are good. But I'm looking for one that's more blue. Oh, well, Joe over there has some really cool blue ones. Go over
That's what makes you an amazing salesman. A good salesman is somebody that can solve your problem and build the trust that when that person has a problem, they can come back to you, trust what you're saying, and also trust that whatever you're going to give them is something that is practical and also, again, trustworthy.
Yeah.
So that's actually being a good salesman and being a good member of the community.
And I'm going to get back to your point in a second, Ryan, but I feel very strongly that the first-time buyer is very, very important to Supreme Gecko. The second-time buyer is our golden spot. You know, that person that comes back means that we're doing something right. To that point, I'm a terrible salesperson, but I sell because of passion, and I get told that I'm not, flexing or anything. I just get told that because, I can see it in their eyes, like, oh, this is cool, and I'm not trying to be fake or anything. It's just that I am excited, and that's just how I kind of communicate. It's hard though for big companies because they're so driven on profit margins, and I say the same. I've said it from like day 2 of being in this hobby. I wish one of the big crested, I'm going to go this way. I wish one of the big crested gecko breeders would set aside 100 animals and raise them up and put UVB over one of the groups and not put UVB and feed them this. So I've been, an advocate of some kind of a sample size and proving this stuff out for years and years and years and years.
Anybody that doesn't have 5 kids in the house, please take out this mantle.
Wally, did you at the Gecko Symposium in
3 years ago now?
2019, 2020?
Oh God,
Had to be
has it been that
2019.
long?
That was 2019.
Was it 2019?
19.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that was the weekend we got engaged.
Was it yesterday?
It was 19.
Right. So
You made it such a long option.
that's so long ago.
Yes.
But,
I know where you're going.
that talk, Court Offerman's son.
I don't look at me.
Wow, I'm totally
Nope.
blanking.
Nope.
Just power through
young
this.
kid Offerman.
Yep.
Who was totally going to give me crap for getting it for blanking.
Power
Anyway,
through.
he did a talk when he was younger. He did a talk on keeping leeches in Arlington.
Yes.
In Arlington, and I ran out to. I heard some 13-year-old kid was giving a talk on leeches, and I told my coworker at the booth, I was at Zilla, and I'm like, I'm a sucker for kids. I have to go watch this. It was a slow day. I'm like, I gotta go. I love any kid that loves reptiles. I want to go give him some attention. So I ran there and watched his talk. It was awesome. And afterwards, I went up and talked to him, and I said, "Hey, Grayson Offerman. That's right. Jesus,
Thank you.
it's my nephew's name too. That's bad. That's what makes it worse." But no, I told him. I said, "Hey, have you ever put UV on any of your leeches?" I'm like, "I know they don't need it, but have you ever tried?" And I just kind of was leaning him. He's like, "Nah, they don't need it." So I've never done. Everybody I learned from, and he knows everybody. So this kid's well connected with his dad being a rock star herp vet, and he's got like good good people, mentors to look up to. And I said, "Oh, totally get it." I said, "But here, I wanna offer. You're a science-minded kid. I want to offer you, I'm gonna give you an offer. I'm gonna send you for free UV lights, and I want you to take a couple babies that hatch and put them under UV, and a couple babies that hatch that not under UV, and just anecdotally, the next time I'm here, I want to talk to you and see what you saw." I'm like, just take some notes, anecdotal stuff.
You offered like lunch or something.
Yeah, not what happened. Grayson rolled his eyes and laughed at me when I left, apparently, and then went home and turned his walk-in closet into a laboratory with two completely separate cabinets that had lighting and everything that I sent him. And he studied them with micrometers and their growth over time and how much they ate and things like that. And then he charted this all. And anybody who keeps
and
right?
used his dad's software for to find if there was any like variations or anything like that, any statistical anomalies.
This was a kid that literally could have published this paper. Like it was really well done. Good. And he did it in that almost legitimately at like a collegiate level of how you would do a study. And he presented at the Herp Symposium or at the Gecko Symposium. And what it basically showed was in Wally, all of us, anybody that breeds New Caledonians, Cresties, Leachies, Sarahs, Chewies, they all do this. Guards, I'm pretty sure do too. I haven't grown a lot of baby guards, but I'm assuming since they all do it, they all do it. They have like a 2-month pause when they they eat, do okay, and they're fine, and you're freaking out the whole 2 months that they're not growing, and they don't for 2 months, and then all of a sudden they start going up, and it's like all of them, and then they take off, and leachies plateau, and then they keep eating, nothing changes, and then they spike, and then they plateau, and there's a lot of that. So what he found with the babies, all the babies under UV, that 2-month pause disappeared, and they started on that eating track right away. And what we decided after talking about a lot of it, we think was a couple things. One, they could see it differently because of the UVA. So if they're seeing their food differently, it may have allowed them to eat it more. And then on top of it, realistically, it was 100% the UVA, had nothing to do with UVB. UVB probably helped a little bit, but the majority of it was how they saw, how they felt, how they were able to. And if they have more serotonin, they act more naturally. They're up and climbing around, exploring their environment. If they don't have that, they feel unnatural, or you could relate it to like the feeling of seasonal depression, not depression in like emo, crying, you're sad, but like you sit on the couch, you don't really want to do anything, you don't really want to get up, you just watch TV. That is how our animals feel without access to UVA. And then once you give it to them, that's like your antidepressant. It's the same thing when you walk outside.
Walking out with sunglasses on all the time.
Yeah, so walking outside on a sunny day versus a cloudy day, you feel happier on a sunny day the second the sun hits you. That's an immediate effect of UVA sunlight hitting the back of your eyeballs and causing a hormone response in your brain.
Our reptiles not on UVB are like us the day after Thanksgiving.
UVA.
Yep.
I want to see a meme on
the
that.
Hour after.
So the hour after. So
hold on. So that's the other part too. What she's saying is UVA. So we all keep saying UVB because we just said, but I want to be clear to make the distinction because not all UVB bulbs have UVA. Actually, very few of them produce much of it.
Well, they might have UVA. They have testable UVA, but it doesn't have the spectrum of UVA. Again, it's that violet spectrum. How I told you that like the violet spectrum like lines up really close to the UVA spectrum. So there's a couple of nanometers that technically, if you get into that, if you have like 10 nanometers of it, that counts as you can say you have UVA. The other problem is that there is internationally, there is an international light and energy group, and I can't remember what it's called, but there is actually no official level for UVB, UVA, and all these other ones. There is an accepted kind of like, okay, if we have to group them together, this is kind of what we're recommending people use, but there's no official number. So even if there's only like a couple of pieces, like nanometers of it, that might not actually be fully UVA. That might still be more on the violet spectrum. So it could be, that's where ours comes in, because we could actually tailor our bulbs to fill out that UVA spectrum, and we could be confident and do a spectrometer that shows the whole amount. The radiometers, so like your solar meters, they can tell you it's present, but they can't tell you where it is on the spectrum, and then how much of the spectrum it actually covers.
So think about it this way. When you're talking about UVA, you're talking about a distance of different nanometer wavelengths, right? Think about that like a radio. Okay, this is easy. What we're saying is that your meter can read how loud the radio is, but it can't tell you what station it's on, and in that range. And this station is where they see, and this station changes their hormones, and right here might do nothing, but that's the spike of energy, and technically it's in the UVA spectrum, so they can say it has UVA and UVB, even though it's not a usable UVA. So that's what she was saying with that.
And it's easy to argue. You can say we do have UVA because since there is no official levels, you can kind of, you can just kind of move it around as you need to.
It's sort of like, I equate it to recipes, food recipes, feeder roaches recipes. Hey, it has bee pollen, even though it's the very last ingredient, that they're just kind of waving the spoon over their, the hard part is, here's a little bit. The hard part is that, again, for the general hobbyist, we're being given this information. You guys do such a great job of giving the information every chance that you can. And I understand that your product and I understand that your business, but if it wasn't, you'd still be giving the information. The hard part for the hobbyist is to absorb and retain. And again, I think that we're looking for, and I'm going to throw myself in there because I don't retain, but we're looking for somebody to say, here's why. And when I walked out of that Gecko Symposium, I thought, oh my gosh, this was the best thing ever because Phil was so good and Frank and Joe. Oh my gosh, all this information. The most important presentation during that whole Gecko Symposium was the young kid with, here's proven stats right here. Give me stats. Give me the data. And he was able to take these results and put them down into spreadsheets, and be able to present information that was proven. How can we get there? How can we, show the hobbyist, the general hobbyist, you're keeping 2 or 3 or 4 or 10 leopard geckos. Here's where you need to be, and make it an emotional, not a numbers thing, but make it an emotional decision that I'm doing bad if I don't do this.
So part of it is that it is an emotional response. And somebody actually on the chats earlier did mention that the social aspect has a lot of negativity in it, and it does. And especially with this generation, it's not so much our generation or older. It is, I can say our generation. It is the younger generation. So I'm talking about, the ones that just graduated, are graduating, things like that. They are a little bit more prone to emotional triggers because they didn't grow up in a world like we did where sticks and stones can break my bones, but words may never hurt me. For part of it, they didn't even see each other. We have to remember that. The only way that they could hurt each other was to literally either talk on a screen or to type the meanest things that they could to each other. So this actual generation has learned how to text, how to email, and how to talk verbally through through messages like on YouTube or on Facebook, things like that, and express their inner emotions. And so we have to be cognizant of that when we are giving feedback, we have to give genuine good feedback. And yes, Ryan, I know sometimes you have to say, good job, here's your cookie. They need to hear, good job, here's your cookie. If we want this change, we need to say, good job, here's your cookie, people.
No, I change it by looking at my kids and going, you're not special.
Yeah.
In a very nice way.
I know. It's hard because there's so many different sides, and you're right, Erica. There's so many different ways that people perceive and absorb this information. I'm a very visual person. I'm not very oral, and this is work for me, really. Right now, this whole oral presentation is work for me. Give me a spreadsheet, and I'll look at the spreadsheet all day. Some people are just the opposite. So there's got to be a way that we can, disseminate this information and make it presentable and make it an emotional decision that people are, I can't not do this because it's for my animals, because everybody wants enrichment and best care, and plastic box is bad, and everybody wants the best for their animals. We just need to be able to link up UVA and UVB to that part of that equation.
So part of this is that this is actually a long-term fight that's been going on since the dawn of animal keeping. And I'm talking to like when they used to bring animals to kings as a, hey, look what we got for ya. Like this has been a problem that has been going on, is like, how do we do better? How do we make it a more emotional connection? Things like that. And that's actually where one of Ryan's big things is like, how do we even get our kids to have that emotional connection? So he's actually come up with some interesting ideas, and you can spill the
I have
beans.
no clue what you're talking about.
Oh, with the app. So with our app,
You're not special.
now you got it.
Love it.
So one of the things with the app,
That was a smooth lead in.
it was a smooth lead in with no
Nice.
background whatsoever.
Nice segue.
Yeah,
It's like
Yeah.
Erica brought a surprise for you guys, right, Erica?
underhand softball. What?
No,
Huh?
but so what now?
App.
Anyway, the app. So this isn't happening yet, but we are now working with somebody who I'm excited about, and there's more people we're going to be working with in the future to rebuild the app and turn it into what I really see it as. And one of the things that I want to do as we develop it too is I want to make it very interactive, because I don't want to make it just it's going to control all the VivTech stuff and control all the pieces, but it'll you'll be able to see your animals, all the stuff that it'll do. And we've talked before how I want to make it where it'll be interactive to live weather data in their native range, things like that, so that you can control these animals to their live where they come from. But at the same time, I also don't want it to just be something you open up to check your timer. It's got to be more. There's got to be more to it. So one of the things I want to do is add in a game to it. Like there used to be a quiz up game or app. I remember a ton of people on it because it had a reptile section. So we were all trying to be like the smartest reptile person. And that lasted for a while. But like I want to make it where like if you punch in there, you keep a leopard gecko, it asks you a question about your leopard gecko. It pops up a feeding. Like, hey, it's been 2 days. Your gecko's weighs about this much. He needs about 4 crickets or 2 dubia. Have you fed him yet today? Like those kind of, that's easy, whatever. But it's easy stuff we could do to put in there that they could track it, and then as they answer more questions and as they get better at quizzes, they get points that they can use for swag or discounts on products. Or that's the other thing. You have to that's the other thing I found is you have to incentivize learning now. Like you really have to incentivize it, but it doesn't have to be so negative. Like even the talks about there's always talks at reptile shows. We need to have more talks, and everybody's like, yeah. But if you ever go, when I went to that room with Grace, it was me and 7 people at a show with 4,000 people in the room. Like people don't go. But what I would love to see more of is if you attend the entire talk, when you leave, you get a raffle ticket.
Yep.
And it would not be hard for some of the companies to step up and donate some stuff to people who are going to go to talks and get people in that room. Like I'm finding ways to incentivize education, because if I can I don't care, that cost isn't that huge. But what I can do is I can get people to want to learn, to want to do better. And the other thing too is never, and this is one thing I'll say too, Welly, and think about this as we go out there. And I know it's just what you were saying for a thing, but whether it's good keeping or bad keeping. Now, when I sit, and people should do better. I love the fact that happens, that we have this argument, because as long as we're constantly having the argument to do better, we're always going to be pushing. Like we have to be arguing about it, or we become complacent. So it needs to happen. But
we can't gang up on
but I don't want to say that there's a good way and a bad way, because granted, like I said, is paper towel in a tub with some pool noodles for a crested gecko breeding colony good? Is that the best we can do? No, it's not the best we can do.
Did he just stab you?
No, he's looking literally. He's looking at my reptile enclosure right now with the pool noodles.
Way to get us banned.
That looks like plants. But I'm like, and I get it. But when you breed a lot of stuff, it has to be clean. You have to be able to go fast. You have to be able to reduce your costs so that the animals don't cost too much for people to own. You have to balance that stuff. So it's not bad. It's just it's created for a level of your abilities. Now, once if we're going to talk about the animals and how they're kept, we need to stop talking about like the specific ways. We need to create, this is the goal for any one keeper. And as a breeder of 10,000 geckos or snakes, this is a cool thing that we'll get to, and we need to find the imperative pieces of that and work to put it into what they're doing. But I don't want to say there's a wrong way. I think we need to start looking at the animal's health, not how they're kept. Keep how they're kept in mind, but also with that background in mind of, if you're getting it from a huge breeder, they're breeding to have animals for you to be able to have. If they go away, or they only do 24 by 24 by 24 cages for every pair of cresties, they won't have as many. The price will go up. They won't be as available. Like, those are huge impacts of what these people are asking for. And that's why earlier I continued to say, we've got to break it out into what category are you, and then what kind of rules can we put on each other, or like not regulations or rules, but what am I thinking of?
I don't know.
Whatever.
Yeah,
but like standards. What kind of standards do we do for each level as the minimum standard that we believe is the ethical? Where do we find that line? And then we stick it there.
It's always hard. It's always hard hearing somebody say this is right, this is wrong, without knowing more information about how they're keeping. I missed every day. Oh, you shouldn't miss every day. You should miss every third day. Or somebody saying I missed 3 times a day. I don't know your house, humidity, and I don't know.
Right. If you live in Arizona, you might have to.
Yeah, or if you're in like our friend Dustin's basement, hi Dustin. If you missed, he'll cry because it retains humidity. Raining. Yeah, it just retains humidity. Right, so
well, and the other part of it too, and this gets me too, is everybody goes bioactive. Okay, 2 things. One, taking sterilized cocoa fiber and putting bugs from Spain in it and springtails doesn't make something biologically active. It means you have springtails and isopods in sterile dirt. What makes something bioactive is the same thing as a fish tank. It needs to biologically and bacterially cycle. So it's just a pretty planted tank. It's no different. And I promise, because I've seen plenty of animals, your care for an animal does not matter whether it's bioactive or a tub. It matters based on how you as a person care for that animal. So you can create this and still have a half-dead, disgusting pit in here, make it look great, make it say it's bioactive because there's plants and bugs in here, but that doesn't mean that this is an incredible enclosure. It's an incredible enclosure because it provides all of the habitats that it needs. And this enclosure is over a year old. That dirt's still cycling. That's why I love getting dirt from outside. I just make sure there's no ants in it because nothing else can kill your animal.
Centipedes, spiders. You can't have them centipede and spiders. So you mentioned the koi fiber and the Hoffman Segai. I swear to God, you're looking at my enclosures right now. That's exactly what. So the whole, I could talk another hour just on bioactive, and I did yesterday with a fellow. We talked bioactive for about an hour, and it could be condensed down into exactly what you just said. And luckily, I came from the fish industry, so it's so relatable for me. You just don't dump water and fish and plants and gravel, and we're good. Everything's cool.
That's how it works.
No, you build up that aerobic, anaerobic, blah, blah, blah. So I'm just reiterating your point that there's so much more to bioactive.
It needs fungus,
Yeah,
people.
all of this stuff right here, that orange stuff, is fungus.
It's not going to
On
hurt anything.
purpose. We leave it because it's natural. And
Where do you buy that?
It just
you
grows.
Well, I got this stick at a nearby outside the house.
What I'll do is I'll take a Big Mac and throw it in the enclosure, and after about a month and a half,
Eat it.
well,
To
once
build
in a
up your
while,
immunity.
go nibble on it. Try to move it away from the mold, and just kind of. But the mold
After you
develops.
touch
and
snake
stuff.
poop.
Yeah.
So you talked about. I'm gonna segue in here. I'm gonna use one of Erica's techniques here. I'm gonna segue into. You talked about the app and make it more interactive and rewarding and incentivized. Talking about VivTech and what you're doing in the future, I want to talk about that, but I also want to go back a little bit, and I want to talk about VivTech. I'm a terrible host here because this was all about you guys, and here we are talking about hamburgers and mold. But I want to talk to you guys about what is VivTech? What is VivTech, and what products do you guys offer?
You know more talking. So he's done. He's cut off.
I'm going to go get more water.
Good
Yeah.
call. Wait, can you give me
Ryan, I'm calling you. Let's talk bioactive, Ryan.
So VivTech is actually our answer to a lot of the problems that we were seeing as keepers. And it was, why is this not a thing? Or why is nobody addressing this problem? Being in the veterinary industry, I was seeing a lot of problems that had to do with UVA and UVB, such as UVA actually helps regulate part of the thyroid, and nobody talks about that. So like your growth in your animals, or even their ability to fight off fungus. In some cases, like your Can V animals, having the right UVA actually can help fight off like yellow fungus. Or even the GI tract, like getting that GI tract strong and moving. So a lot of that was overlooked, and a lot of the information on UVB was just regurgitated. And there wasn't any good solutions for a lot of like major problems, but they weren't major enough to large corporations. They were just major enough to like the niches. And I said niches, people. So it was only to the niches. And that's where we started looking at it like,
call me that.
so that's where we really wanted to actually bring products in that met what people needed, like safer venomous transportation bags. That is one of the things that we're working on right now. Is we got great feedback on our snake bags, and everybody loves them. Great. Now we feel confident to make them longer, and for you to put like an Eastern Diamondback rattlesnake that you find into it, because we weren't going to do that if you didn't like it before. But those are kind of problems that have been out there, because before that, there was no real safe way to transport venomous except for in very thin cloth or in socks, apparently.
No, that's just normal reptile.
That's just normal reptile stuff, or pairs of underwear. Apparently, that's also a normal reptile thing.
You've never gotten an animal shipped in a sock? Wally, you're missing out.
And we don't want one.
It's more of a snake thing, though, I think. So I think that's where you're looking.
It isn't.
I'm going to interrupt Erica for 15 seconds. One of our very first bearded dragon purchases, we got 4 adult bearded dragons in sports socks, the tube socks.
I don't remember that.
Honest to God.
Were they used?
Yes.
Were they clean?
They were used.
Oh.
Yep.
Sorry. Keep going. I'm sorry.
No, don't worry about it.
I told you it's a real thing.
I
You
didn't want to
me.
believe you, because
I
really,
didn't know it. I don't remember it.
well, that's like he came home one day and he's like, I went herping. I'm like, great. He's like, he's like, I wanted to bring something for you to see, but like he wouldn't take off his boxers for you to see it. I'm like,
What?
bro, like their friend wouldn't.
What?
So
I have 100.
All sounded really bad.
Nope, we're not.
Yeah, I have 100 jokes, and I can't say
you
one
can't
of them.
say one.
I cannot say one.
Done.
We are live.
Anyway, so this is our answer to a lot of things, and then a lot of our smart tech is the answer to I have 8,000 apps and subscriptions on my phone, and none of them do exactly what I want them to do, and I can't look and control everything on my phone, and it drives me nuts. Oh my God, no. People, no. Anyway, ew. So, ew.
We have the best viewers. I
Washed,
swear.
washed socks. Washed socks.
I don't want to see anybody's socks. So,
Bioactive.
oh God.
You put it
Oh,
right.
let's go. I'm sorry. Go on.
Will
I'm
you
gonna
let her
comment like
talk?
right on your live, and then you're gonna have to take it down. So, oh God. Anyway, with the smart tech, what we're trying to bring to it is the ability to conserve your energy because everything is very low energy. To conserve your sanity because it actually gives you good alerts. It saved our butts a couple of times. It saved other people's, including one gentleman who had only feeders, and he got an alert that his feeder room was too hot, and so he was able to go home and turn his air conditioning on instead of liquefying all of his formwork.
Yes.
And then also the ability to watch and capture and actually join your animal. It sounds weird, but when you have like an in situ camera, you can actually be in the enclosure. It doesn't. So some of the cameras that people use make like a clicking sound, or they report like the animal can hear it or sense it because like they'll look right at it. With ours, they don't sense it at all. They just go about their business without any issue. And we've been able to watch animals copulate that we never have even seen breeding behavior on. We've been able to actually judge body condition scores, watch normal behaviors, watch them do some behaviors that make us want to pull our hair out, like swinging from the misters.
lights, the misting system. Yeah.
But then being able to watch that on our app and then take a video of it. And then if we want to, we can share it, or we can just give it to our sitter at that time to come in. Those are amazing things. And we can actually create entire habitats on our app. And then as the app grows, we wanted it to be something that people could rely on and then also get information. So they can use it as a way to get a resource. They can use it as a way to control, you know, all the enclosures and things like that. If, God forbid, like we had a couple of days ago, a tornado come through, we were able to shut down everybody's enclosures and not have to worry about it.
Yeah.
I got all the kids ready and taken care of, and Ryan just one hit was able to shut down all of our enclosures and protected all of our stuff from lightning surges or anything like that. It was absolutely fantastic to have that security and peace of mind.
I tell you guys, that's what you need to do in short videos is capture instances like that and say, here's what you need to do, reptile keepers.
I'm out here. Here's the tornado Wally told me to capture.
No, a lot
Ryan turned it off.
we have
That would be cool.
That would be awesome.
We have caught some cool stuff though. Like we have Amazon the tagus.
Crocodile take.
Amazon crocodile tagus. So at the end of the day, my brain's getting fried. We're at the end of my
You
week.
said Amazon, and I thought Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon crocodile tagus. There's very few of them in the country, and there's only one or two people I know that have been able to breed them. And we were able. They're incredibly shy animals. And with the video cameras in there, we were able to catch them courting.
Mm-hmm.
So I have video of an incredibly shy animal that's never been recorded courting.
And also a video of the female smacking the tar out of the male because she was like, no.
Yeah, but that's kind of, and the other thing we've noticed is we were able to find out, like, we were frustrated with the tegu cage because I had deep substrate. I wanted that. I wanted them to burrow. But now it's a huge cage, and if they do lay eggs and they're so secretive, she can go and develop eggs within a week or 10 days and then lay them. I might not even know she was gravid. And then how do we find them? So we started paying attention to how she was utilizing the cage and where they were hiding, and then digging out dirt away from the areas they weren't sitting at, and removing their cage and putting in bins and lay boxes and places where they like to hide, and then clearing out the rest of the areas so we knew specific points where they would lay based on their behaviors.
Yeah, we actually found some really interesting ones, even with our spinulosas, just by watching them do test digs and things like that. But one of the big things that we really wanted to do with VivTech that I've been really focusing on is bringing UVA into more of the spotlight, I guess.
Yeah. Yep.
But also helping people understand why this is actually important. We've talked about UVB, UVA, and all that stuff forever and ever. But just actually expressing why this is so important, because unfortunately there's not a lot of testing that you can do for it, because unless you're going to go and do hormonal testing for like serotonin, dopamine, thyroxine, and things like that, unlike 20 bearded dragons, you're going to have a little bit of a hard time. So, you know, trying to bring in some of the resources that we're finding, and then also some of the anecdotal information, such as one paper that came out recently was actually about chinchillas utilizing UVA and the importance of UVA and UVB in chinchillas because of where they're located. Rabbits also benefit from UVB, and there was actually a huge difference in rabbits and chinchillas with dental issues. So there was less dental issues noticed in those animals when they were given UVB, which was something that was huge and amazing. So like we're trying to bring out some of that information and really put it forthright so that we can give people that way of being like, hey, it's okay to like something new, and it's okay to like something weird in the industry, like UVA, not the UVB part, but like he likes UVB, I do UVA, like your favorites. But like what your favorite thing is, like you can have that weird niche and then, you know, build a company or build something better off of it. You don't have to just stick with, okay, well, I'm going to just make cages, or I'm just going to make heat mats. Like you can try and make something that's super cool. Like somebody make a cooler bulb than us. Make cooler thermostats, things like that.
It's an opportunity to move the industry forward, because that was one thing too that's kind of funny. And you know, fish, there is 10-gallon tropical community tank kit, 55-gallon maybe African cichlid kit. Mm-hmm. Then you start stepping into planted tanks. Then you start stepping into saltwater, and then you can go into a $100,000 sapphire glass Kessel lit monstrosity if you want.
Some of those are scary,
but there's that level of literally crappy light from China all the way up to insane LED Kessel $5,000 light that's a foot by a foot. You know, you can go to any degree you want. In reptile, the same bulb that we have in the leopard gecko kits is the same bulb people put on their lace monitor. It's the same bulb that they put on a snake. It's the same thing. That there is no differentiation in the entry level versus and providing higher end technology to people who really want it. So that was one piece of it too, is to be able to provide
the education of why do you need to put them at different levels or give them different bulbs.
Yeah.
Products. I want to go back to products real quick because I'm going to feel bad if I don't cover this. What are all the products that VivTech supports, produces?
So,
cool stuff.
Right now, our two. We have some really awesome things that are useful for people. We have some really great snake bags. They're higher quality. Hold on. I'm getting there. This first piece, we have some fixtures like swivel mount fixtures for mounting bulbs internally. If you have a PVC enclosure and you want to put a bulb inside so it doesn't have to go through a screen, screens reduce up to 50% of the UV output. Depending on the screen. So if you can install it internally, it's significantly better. And this fixture that we have has a swivel mount. It's ceramic. It takes 1/8 inch hole or 1/4 inch hole drilled through to run the cord, and then 2 screws to hold it, and that's it. It's incredibly easy to install.
And you can angle it.
And you can turn it and move it. So stuff like that. That's just easy things that we knew people would need that we've brought in to make life easier for us. But then our major focus is, as a brand, is our smart monitor technology, which is our app. And the cameras, humidity, temperature sensors, on-off outlets. We have a power strip where every single outlet is individually programmable.
I've taken so many.
Wow.
She steals them all the time. She doesn't hook them up to the app. She just uses them as a normal power strip because she couldn't find one. And then my app constantly is like, "Are you going to connect to these 4 that are just sitting here waiting?" And I'm like,
They're
"No."
Really good.
Yeah, just wait. You know what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say yes, and I'm gonna just start turning off all your stuff all day.
Are they surge protected?
Yeah.
Yes, they're
Right?
surge protected.
Yes.
They're lightning protected.
Well, and the nice
they're
thing
amazing.
too, the on-off and dimmable outlets, it sucks. Some people didn't like this, but I want to explain it and why. The fuse in it is a returnable fuse. When it blows, it's done. It dies. It's done. And I did that because if your house gets hit by lightning, fuses that can reset, like on a heat mat, when they get hit by lightning, if they're open, they can get fused open.
Yep.
which means they don't
Oh
shut.
my gosh. Oh
So-
my gosh.
If it's on
Oh,
a thermostat and you have your heat tape fused open and it runs at 100%, your house is going to start on fire. So that's why with most of the stuff that we utilize, I figured losing a $30 plug was better than losing all of your collection. So we went with that and decided to allow that to break, even though knowing that's going to happen. Because I would rather lose a socket than lose my room.
Yeah.
So we try to think ahead of some of those things where the average consumer would say, that's stupid. If it burns out, I'm out a plug in it. Why isn't it surge protected or whatever? That's why.
Oh,
though.
these are the little plugs.
And these are the little plugs. Those are the ones that usually they just have a resettable switch. They're not big enough to have the whole surge protection like a power strip. So what they usually do is just have that resettable switch. But we opted for a breakable switch, so it wouldn't do that.
Yep.
wow.
And we when we test these, we push them to the limit. And our poor daughter dealt with that because she had like the least flammable room.
We were testing a dimmable power center or power plug, and I had to all of our bulbs are halogen or LED, so I don't have any really high wattage draws, and it was a 400 watt draw. So we had 4 90-watt halogens
And my
in
dehydrator.
in my daughter's room, and the dehydrator plugged into it and running full bore, and then I still didn't hit it yet, so she had to go get 3 more 39 watt halogens. So our daughter's room was 104.
Yeah, she's like, I'm not sleeping here. I'm like, I'll turn it off.
We'll turn it off and we'll give you the fan.
Oh, we have the fire. Brian comes home. I have the fire extinguisher next to him. Like, hi, honey.
But no, I worked in an engineering facility in the quality lab where we had to figure out why things broke. So I became very, very, very big into abuse testing. I want to know everything's limit. I want to know where it's going to fail and why. I want to know if I can improve it or if I need to.
Blacksmith hammer.
Yeah, we have some stuff. Well, we used our LED bulb if you go on our Instagram, there's a video of me using the bulb to drive a hammer into a board. Yes, I used a light bulb to nail a nail into a board.
I hit it with a blacksmith hammer, and the only reason it had a little bit of a hard time turning back on was because I hit the ballast.
She hit the components.
Yeah, I hit the component, where you plug it back in. But it's also been submerged in water for 4 hours and it still works. I don't recommend it.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Not when it's on.
No.
But we run our sensors, the little humidity temperature sensors. So you can't do this with the Govee or the other ones. I'm just saying, but you can do it in ours. You can actually run them on a higher humidity.
So they can run up to 95% condensing humidity.
Yep.
So I actually have them inside the incubators with my eggs, not in the incubator, in the egg boxes.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
So they're a little bit bigger than a quarter, and they're about a little more than a 1/4 inch thick, and they're small enough to fit into almost any egg box.
Yep. And you can put 50 of them on one gateway that attaches to your phone. So you can put them into different places, and then you just label them however you want to on your phone.
You could set alarms for them. So
and you can change the battery out, which is nice.
If you have a critical clutch, you can there's subscriptions. You can pay $2 or $3 a month. If you want a phone call, if there's a problem with that sensor, or your sensors, you can do stuff like that. So
we just get the push notification.
We just do that. But you get push notifications. You can put if it goes above this or below this, send me a notification. You can also set up some scenarios in the program, which is kind of cool, where you can say if say you use a temperature or a sensor in the middle of the room, and your room stagnates air at the top all the time, you can put it at the ceiling and say, if this temperature reaches 82 degrees, kick on this outlet, and that outlet could be the fan in the room that starts stirring the air.
Oh my gosh.
Holy
That's
cow.
cool. That's really cool.
And we are working
phone call
on
thing wouldn't work.
a video that kind of goes through a little bit more of what this app can do, because we do understand that trying to do this is a little bit just kind of throwing you into it and being hey, figure it out. So we are actually working on more consumer-friendly ways to get this information out there, because the writing it isn't the easiest part, because I was looking at the instructions okay, but this doesn't say some of the cool stuff we can do.
Yeah. But yeah, so all right, other than the smart systems, other products, we also have our LED UV, which is something we've kind of been touching on a lot. So we have the 3 different bulbs. They're LED UV bulbs. They produce 6500K plant light. Not enough to grow a plant. Just, I know everyone asks. So basically here's the problem. We created a bulb that has UVB and UVA LEDs. UVB LEDs don't produce anything that we can see. They never look on ever. UVA creates a super duper faint, barely purplish kind of tinted glow, but you have to look in the dark to see it. So we created a bulb that created no light.
Cool.
You had to know that it worked. And I didn't want to, we actually in the UK, we have them in the UK, and my distributor messaged us yesterday. He has somebody, he's like, I've replaced 3 of them and the UVB lights won't turn on. And I had to explain to him, you can't see them. So, but so we have another section to put a diode in. And I'm like, well, if it's going to be on, if you're going to have a light, it might as well at least add something. And when it comes to light, a 6500K plant light at least adds plant light spectrum.
Wait, he replaced the bulbs because he didn't
think
think that they were turning on?
Yep, we'll talk about that later. There was a very missed lapse in the education there. But again, he's a fish distributor dipping their toe into reptile. So that was questions that they got. But that's something that we knew could be a problem. So anyway, so that's what that is. That the 6500K LEDs, it's a plant light because if I'm going to have a light, it might as well do something. But it's not enough light to like grow your tank. It's really meant there to be an indicator that the bulb works because none of the other diodes show light you can see. But anyway, so we created 3 of them. We have our first call, which is our lowest output. That's about 12 inches of distribution from the bulb. Well, that's going to be generally used for like what you would call your crepuscular species. Everything that everybody says don't need it. All your crepuscular snakes, anything within 12 inches, especially arboreal stuff, all the geckos. The crested geckos are a great example because you can give them UVA, a little bit of UVB that only reaches that top 12 inches, and they can come up into it when they want it and move away from it. They can actually see it. They can see UVA and UVB. Your leopard geckos can see UVB. So they can see it, and they will move up into it as they want it.
Ryan, that 12 inches, is that 12 inches down? How wide?
Yep. It's 12 inches down, and it's about a 12-inch sphere for the first ball.
All right.
For the jungle cover, it's about 20 inches down and about 16 to 18 inches
more
wide.
Like a teardrop.
Yeah, and then the midday blaze hits 36 inches at the end of zone 1 from the bulb, and that hits about 20 inches wide.
Okay.
Is there any difference in the magnitude from 12 inches to 20 inches to?
So that's one thing. So we've been taught UV wrong by the industry. It's all tropical and desert. So funny story, Wally, do you know where, and anybody else can answer here, I'm going to put this quiz out there. Where does the highest UV blasted animal that needs the highest UV, what animal gets hit with the highest UV on Earth? What is it, and where does it live?
It has to be something. I'm going to be, the common hobbyist. It has to be because I really don't know. It has to be something in Australia, Saudi Arabia, desert, exposed, and can't get out of the light sometime. I don't know, something like that. Something hot.
I hear Eurymastix. I hear Eurymastix all the time. You think crazy hot, that kind of stuff. So here's the funny thing about the desert. The desert has a lot of dust, and silica dust, what do you think that does to the sunlight? Refracts it.
Sure.
So the UV that hits the ground in some of those desert areas is actually significantly lower than in tropical areas because of the dust. So the other thing is everybody goes desert, but there's an animal that lives in the tropics, and it lives on an island on white sand beaches with no cover. All the Cyclura, the rhino iguanas, Cayman blue iguanas, those Galapagos, all those animals live on white sand beaches on limestone rocky outcrops, bask from sunup to sundown, and don't have anywhere to hide.
And with the saltwater surf. So saltwater foam, the white foam that comes from the saltwater refracts about 20 to 30% of the UV lighting.
Yeah, so they actually, even like the marine iguanas get more UV than the sun gives because they get that plus the stuff bouncing around. So they get additive UV.
Just go down.
So those animals, that's why their skin is so thick and so rough. So the highest UV need animal lives in the tropical Caribbean, not in the desert.
Wow.
So,
very interesting.
So that's why our midday blaze is our highest output bulb, and it has a rhino iguana on it. And because that is the animal that needs it the most, not desert, not tropical. So don't think desert and tropical. We have to start thinking about it a little differently. Where does the animal come from, and what Ferguson zone, which is the current standard, does your animal live in generally or bask at? Bearded dragons spend most of their time basking at Ferguson zone 3, maybe into 4. So if I know that, on the side of our box and our bulb, if you look at our website, it has a chart, shows you zone 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you basically look at from the bulb to the basking spot, how far is it? If there's a screen involved, you have to take out about 20%. But how far from the bulb is it? And then which zone do you need to get into? If your basking spot is 12 inches from the back of a bearded dragon with no screen, and you want to hit it zone 3, 4, you're probably going to be in a midday blaze, but you actually could even be in a jungle cover if you're closer to 10 inches.
Depending on the size of your screen, though.
Yeah, well, I said if there's no screen. So all of those things make differences. A bearded dragon doesn't exactly need the highest output if the bulb's really close to where he sits. So it comes down to that. So it's really how far away is the animal? Is there a screen in between or not? And then what zone are you trying to hit? And then which bulb gets you into that zone at that height?
Wow. And again, there's so many different factors here. And you talk about screen, and it's not just screen. Is it the fine screen? Is it the wide screen?
Yep.
It's just so much.
Screen tops are about 20%. Like when I was with Zilla, that finer, more common screen, that's closer to 30%. Some of the things like vision cages that have the perforated steel, that's 60%.
Wow.
That's why you should mount on the inside
Yeah.
and just kind of bracket.
Plastic,
and depending on what it is, almost all plastics filter all UV. There are some very specific ones that do allow UV through them, but they do still kind of degrade over time and start to filter over time.
Yep.
But UVA isn't filtered by most plastics.
But UVA will, however, discolor all plastics as time goes on. So you also have to be aware of that.
So realistically, if you're in a plastic enclosure, you just want to mount it inside. Actually, anytime.
Yes, absolutely. It feels like we've been talking for about 10 or 15 minutes. I think I promised you guys an hour and a half or so, and
we all knew that it wasn't going to happen.
None of the questions that I have on my list.
Be a half an hour show, and I laughed at you.
None of the questions that I've asked here have I asked, or on my script have I asked.
No.
I do want to ask a couple of very specific questions, and then we're going to break into the hit it or quit it portion of this show. Where we ask a quick question, and you do not get to ask me anything or explain yourself. You just have to answer. So,
Erica I just left the show.
Yeah, gone.
I don't know where she went. She'll come back. She has. I know what. Actually, I know what she's going to get. She got me your segment's called "Hit It or Quit It." She got me this candle.
Hit it or quit it.
Thank you for not hitting it and quitting it.
Thank you for hitting it and not quitting it.
Thanks for hitting it and not quitting it.
That was
I get it now.
Yeah, that was my Valentine's Day gift.
Very nice. Speaking of the bulbs, what makes VivTech different from other UV bulbs out on the market?
Our warranty is one of them. We have a 2-year manufacturer warranty, assuming you didn't put it next to right next to a halogen bulb, or drop kick it down the side of a.
It has to be outside of a 6-inch radius of a heat bulb and not in a dual dome. Those are the only things that break the warranty. Dual domes trap heat, and that fries your LED. Don't
kick it down the street either, like Ryan does. That will void it. And then also ours are specifically manufactured with the chip. So we have specific chips that are put into there that create specific spectrums of UVB and also of UVA. So we are tailoring the spectral lighting that we are offering, and we are perfecting it as we go. So If we need to add things, change things, we can, and different products or different versions as we go forward. But what we have is we actually specifically chose the spectrum, and we made sure that there was no UVC and there was no shortwave UVB.
Fantastic. And what stops me from, I know your prices are a little bit, VivTech's prices are a little bit higher than this circle bulb that I can get for like $10 or $15. Why shouldn't I just get one of those instead of the VivTech bulb?
So
You're their friend.
Well, there's a bunch of reasons. If we're talking energy efficiency, that's always a good one. And if you're a reptile keeper, you totally appreciate
how
that.
How many watts is our bulb?
3 watts. Yeah, no. So I was gonna say, I did my background's in engineering and energy analysis. So I did an energy analysis of what it would basically look at. You'd be looking at if you ran 160 watt mercury vapor, or if you ran one of our bulbs with a 90 watt halogen, which actually gives you a better spectral radiance than the mercury vapor does anyway. Better light, better infrared, and then better UV and UA and UVB. But anyway, on a cost perspective, the 4-year lifespan of our bulb, over that time, you save $100 a year in replacements and energy costs.
$100 a year.
Our bulb, if you run it 12 hours a day, costs roughly $1.50 in the United States per year.
It does kind of depend on where you are, all that good stuff. Another thing to consider with our bulb is they are IP65 rated. They have metal housing. You can disinfect the bulb. So if you have an animal that you are quarantining or you are moving it in between enclosures, you can disinfect them safely. Also, you can put them into an enclosure that has particulate bedding in them, and you can also mist them. I have misted them. Again, we've also submerged them. Don't do that. And the best part of our bulb is it is the only bulb on the market that in this kind of situation, that can actually be safely recycled through a technology program. So you would
It
take
doesn't
it
have any
to,
mercury in it.
Yep, thank you. You would
Outstanding.
take it to a zoo or to a Best Buy or someplace like that and actually put it into the recycling for technology there, like old cell phones. And they can take care of that and then take out the components and reuse them and resell them instead of having to use up a lot of more natural resources. With other bulbs, you can't do that because they do have mercury in them. All bulbs, fluorescents, mercury vapors, and then metal halides.
Yeah.
Hi, BB. All have mercury in them. You technically are supposed to throw them out. So ours are actually safe for the environment.
So above and beyond all of these other features that you just mentioned, you have the quality and the research behind these bulbs to make them the best on the market. That's what I'm hearing.
Yep.
Well, and we're working more to get involved with some more of the scientific community to work on some more actual papers. That's slow moving. Obviously, and dealing with universities and things like that, it doesn't go fast. But we will be we are going to be working with a couple hopefully in the next 12 months. But for right now, realistically, I mean, one thing I would tell anybody is talk to people who have our products. Ask them what they're seeing in differences, because I can tell everybody here how cool they are and what happens with them and the changes you see with your animals. But just ask who's used our products. And the other thing too is who's used them. There is a lot of opinions out there on a lot of things, but definitely ask people who have visually seen what it's done for their animals. And it's pretty incredible. We get some amazing stories at every show we do of how this has changed their animals' behavior and health.
So we have the research that went into the product beforehand. Now we have 2.5 years of actual use. So I think that's proof in the pudding right there. Ryan, what's been the one, after this, I have one quick question, then we'll get into the hit it or quit it. But what's the one big challenge that you've been faced with in this first couple of years with VivTech? What's the one thing that made you go, this really sucks? If I didn't love my job so much, I don't want to do this anymore, kind of challenge.
I haven't had that yet. I haven't had something like, now granted, our life in general, and it just, that was my niece who didn't live here 2 months ago. That kind of chaos in life generally makes this all difficult. But when it comes to just the business, general business stuff stresses me out. Like, when is the next bulb going to come in? Do we have our product coming in on time? Are we running low? Financial stuff, what we're tossing up, whether we're going to make it to shows, things like that. So the general stress, but otherwise, realistically, this has been just one of the most fueling things for me and Erica to be able to have a palpable change on animals in captivity and their keepers. And Erica was saying before how all the things that really get her excited. One of the major moments for me with VivTech and why I wanted to do this is UVA has been important to me. Well, I mean, I've talked UVB with you for years. I've been spewing UVB for a decade about what an UVA and how it's bigger than what we all talk about. There's more to it than what we all talk about. And one of the major things that really hit me is I am, like many people in today's world, deal with anxiety and depression and things like that. And my depression sucks. It's not as easily treatable all the time. And I found ways to cope and deal with that. And I share that with friends and anybody who ever asks. But I know that feeling. I know that feeling of just not even wanting to get up, not even wanting to get out of bed, just having just a total blah. And realizing that without UVA to disrupt their serotonin development and regulate their serotonin and their cortisol and things like that, I was forcing my animals to live like that. That was the moment that just changed for me. And that's what's been awesome about getting our bulb out there is people are seeing natural behaviors in their animals that you only see if you take it outside or you see it in the wild.
I can't even associate you with the word depression because every time that I see you and talk to you, you're, if most people are at their highs at 100% is their highs. You're at 200% on your normal and you're 300% on your high. So it's hard for me to envision you not being, just game on. Let's go. Let's talk with passion.
I derive a lot of my joy from bringing that to people around me. So kind of the Robin Williams kind of thing. He was somebody who struggled too, but making people laugh brought him joy. Getting people excited about their animals, being able to be in that community, that stuff makes me happy no matter what my day is. And it's hard for me not to get excited when I'm there and talking about the stuff I love. But yeah, no, this community and this industry and this hobby fuels us in so many ways other than just it's a hobby or a thing we love or a business. There's so much more to it for us.
I have a couple of sayings that I live, and I'm not a big saying person at all. I hate the corporate, low-hanging fruit and stuff like that. But there's a couple of sayings that really drive me because when I feel like not doing something, then I can revert back to this saying But one of the things that, when I feel like, oh my gosh, I've gotten everything that I can do done today, I can't do any more, is a saying that you say very frequently. I don't know if you say it frequently, but I've heard it at least once, and it stuck with me so much. We'll sleep when we die. And my takeaway from that, Ryan, is not, I'm busy all the time. And it's simply that we don't have the opportunity other than right this second to keep driving and moving forward and doing more and helping more people. So most appreciative of that. That has driven me in more than dozens and dozens of occasions where I just want to go, I can't answer another question about why is my crested gecko not eating. I can't do it anymore. Okay, we're going to jump into hit it or quit it. Erica, you have time?
Yeah, I just put all the kids in situations. We're good.
Okay, duct tape and lock closet.
Hey,
I'm sorry.
They're all in their closet.
You can't be saying
Okay, go
that.
back up to go back up real quick.
I can.
No.
Okay,
No.
right there. People
Let 'em
know
out
that
for
I'm
fresh
nuts and
air.
crazy. I want to ask you guys from a business standpoint. I'm going to be reading off my script right now. I want you guys to answer kind of unison, so you have to time each other out on this. So, from a corporate standpoint, there's always positions, executive, president, blah blah blah. So
this could start a fight.
In VivTech, that's what I'm hoping for. So in VivTech, the business end of things. Okay, I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, go. Who is the CEO? 1, 2, 3, go. Okay.
Well, we already talked that out. She owns 51% of the business.
I thought the kids did. Okay. Who is the CFO? 1, 2, 3, go. CFO, chief financial. Who makes the financial decisions? Who says
Butters?
no? What? Who is the CIO? Who is the Chief Information Officer? Who's the technician? Who has to solve the technical issues? Really? Okay. Who's the plant manager? Who's the one that manages the inventory, distribution, all of that stuff? The stuff that I hate, stuff that you do. Ryan, really, I'm shocked.
Well, we also deal with a lot of China.
I deal with all my vendors. I deal with all the. Well, when I was at Zillow,
But I
I
do
managed
get a lot
their
of good
catalog
wife
and
gifts.
stuff.
Let
So.
me tell you, I get a lot of good wife gifts from our Chinese vendors.
I have some amazing vendors. They really take care of
Outstanding. That makes it so much easier. So we're going to talk about marketing and sales in just a minute, but who's the product manager? Who has the focus on evolving the products, the product line, the vision? Both. Is it both?
I would say both. Yeah.
Are you pointing at me? I can't tell who you're pointing to.
She was like,
Okay, who's the
Signaling.
marketing manager? Marketing manager. Okay. Who's the sales manager?
Ryan.
This is the person that talks to the, I love it. I finally got some arguments here. So this is the person that talks to the community. I think you both are,
They
really.
both are.
Here's
Yeah,
the person.
We kind of both are, and it really depends. And this is one thing lately with all the things going on in our lives. I am now working as well. So Erica stepped more into the full-time VivTech spot, and we're working. So that's why a lot of that kind of shifted. So her conversations are more in the sales than mine were, or than mine are now. And I do a lot more of the
But
management.
see,
and
this
inventory
right
at night.
here, I met Ryan and did video on his company.
Yeah.
That's because you don't shut it.
I never shut up.
You
I have to be
know.
on everybody else's video because I don't have time to do my own.
No,
I'm
There you
forcing myself to try to keep this not 24 hours. So I apologize for all this time.
Oh, Frank
We're going
was
to go to hit
running
it or
that.
quit it. I know Frank would love 24 hours. Go
No,
down to
hit it or quit it is the answer it quick. You don't elaborate either.
You want to ask them then?
Let's get it going further. All right,
Okay, go
one
ahead.
at a time. Erica, what's your favorite food?
pierogi.
A
Was it?
what? A hoagie?
I didn't hear what
Did
you
you say
said.
a
I
hoagie?
couldn't understand.
Pierogies.
I thought we were
I know what a
delivering.
pierogi is. I
Polish.
just didn't know what it was. Okay, Ryan, what's yours?
Buffalo wings.
How does
Basic bitch.
Oh, I don't care.
Sorry.
favorite sports team, Erica? Yeah, you did.
Oh no.
Erica,
No.
None. Nothing, Ryan.
Packers.
Packers, okay. And the show's over, folks. Thank you for joining us.
Waffles or pancakes?
My kids making waffles.
Waffles.
Okay.
The
Veg,
show's back on.
veg on the couch or watch. What are you watching on TV? If you're on the couch,
Witcher.
Rick and Morty.
Yeah,
Or
outside.
the new Futurama's out now, so I'm watching the new
yeah.
season.
Oh
now.
my
Really
god.
good.
Human resources.
Yep.
all
I
right.
enjoyed human resources.
We
What
do a
are
lot
your-
of adult cartoons.
Top 3 movies.
Oh, Maverick, Tombstone. God, I love that movie so much. Oh, the third one. I don't know how to do this. Probably the Batman with Michael Keaton, the first one.
Okay.
Wow.
Ryan.
Wow.
I honestly, I'm pretty bad. I don't really watch that much anything. The TVs. I watch some shows on my phone when I'm in the shower or running around. But
Shower?
movies. Well, on the wall, I put my phone on the wall. There's background noise. But no, movies. I like stupid comedies like Van Wilder. Actually, I just love Ryan Reynolds, so Deadpool and Van Wilder, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
That
Deadpool,
kind of
but
stuff.
oh god, your taste in movies suck.
I
you hate
didn't
everything.
watch Deadpool for about, sorry, I've got to jump in at this point. I didn't watch Deadpool for about 3 years after it was released. And my son finally, I know. So my son said, we're watching it tonight. And it was like, oh my gosh, I love this movie so much. And this is the moment I've all been waiting for.
Cannot stand the movie. All right. Ryan, what is Erica's most endearing quality?
Oh.
She has a lot. There's the whole reason I married her. She understands other people emotionally in a way that I have no comprehension of. She connects to our kids.
Oh damn it, I can't be
in-
irritated.
I know, yeah,
now.
good. Yeah, see, I'm good at this. Suck it. No, but she connects when our kids are having a hard time, and I'm thinking it's, just them being kids. She's able to get things out of them and get them to think in ways that I didn't even think they were aware of, and communicate to us what they need. And it's incredible. She's incredible. Anytime there's a problem with somebody or an emotional emergency, she's the one I toss to it, not because I don't want to deal with it, but because I know that she's the best for the job.
Well trained.
What is the one thing that she does that drives you crazy?
Yeah, Ryan, what's the one thing that drives you cuckoo?
It's okay.
It's not.
No. There's one thing she does that I can't get her to stop, and it drives me absolutely crazy. For some reason, she can't take her Coke can and just throw it into the recycle. It has to go upside down in the sink in case there's one drop that could have fallen out of it. Can't be rinsed out or shook out or anything. It just has to sit upside down in the sink overnight, apparently.
This has been an argument, literally.
And I can't get her to stop doing it.
Since we've been dating, this has been an argument.
I'm like, the recycle's 4 feet away. Nothing. It's a dirty, gross can.
Right there. It's literally right in front. You
He just said
something.
it's a dirty, gross can. He makes a comment about a dirty, gross can, and this is the guy that's eating food in his reptiles and never washing his hands.
We're getting to that.
Okay.
Now it's Erica's
Erica,
turn.
what is Ryan's most endearing quality?
Oh, for God's sake. Actually, he has an incredible talent of
being always right.
Shh.
Next question.
It's Erica's turn.
No, of actually making people, especially when they're at shows or at events, or even when I'm talking to him, when he's not being a butt, of making them feel like they're the most important and only person in that room. Like, that's it. Nobody else exists. He is there just to talk to you. And when you're done, then he's okay. But until then, that's everything. He is solely dedicated to hearing what you want to hear. And I've seen him do it with little kids all the way up to full grown adults who I was like, oh my God, I passed my pumpkin time a while ago. And he is still like, yeah, no, tell me about that. I'm like, but that is one of his greatest gifts.
All right.
And I'm not supposed to talk here,
No,
but
you're not.
Going all the way back when we first met, Ryan, that was a characteristic of yours that is very endearing and genuine, and I think draws a lot of people to you. So 100%, 110%, right on.
What is the one thing that he does that drives you crazy?
Just one.
Shh.
Just one. She's got her top 25 list.
25 today. Just today.
During this show.
This hour.
Top would be if I'm going to go through it, it's going to be the freaking socks right now. Not turning the socks inside out, and then I have to do it, and they're crunchy and they're disgusting after he's been in steel toe boots all day, and then I have to go wash them, and I'm also washing other people's socks, and I have to turn theirs in. I don't like socks. The sock thing is freaking me out. I don't like the dirty sock thing. This is why I don't like steaks being shipped in socks. Stop shipping steaks in socks. Your crunchy ass socks from your steel toe boots. No, I'm done.
We're
sweaty
mailing
in the blacksmith shop in the summer.
And your factory at work.
So don't turn them the other way until they're washed.
But then you have to do it, and then it's already solidified. And it's ugh. No, there's socks.
Okay.
We're mailing Erica
I'm
a
grossed
crusted
out.
gecko in a dirty old sock.
Okay.
No underwear, but
Favorite
we'll do
game.
a sock.
Favorite game to play with the family, I'm going to say. Monopoly, Trivial Pursuit, or a card game. And if it's a card game, what one?
Go Lords.
What?
You guys need to get this.
You said it together. I couldn't hear you.
There is a card game called Goat Lords.
Goat Lords?
Goat Lords.
Like GOAT?
It just made all of our kids peek
They
around
all
the corner.
peeked in to see why we were saying Goat Lords. They all thought it was
Write
coming.
that one down.
It's a fun game. It's like Exploding Kittens and all those little card games that pop out.
But with less rules.
But yeah, this one is easy to understand. But it's pretty funny and it's pretty cute.
All right.
Very cool.
I'll be on Amazon tonight.
I'm looking.
Yep.
Favorite binge show you have watched in the last 10 years? Could it be a TV, a movie series, something that's you've binge watched? Now, I don't know when you would even do that, but
I actually did binge. What was that show? Sweet Tooth.
Oh, I couldn't
That
stand
was.
it.
It's on. I don't remember. It's. I thought it was a good show. It's on. It's Netflix or Hulu or one of those.
Omens, Good Omens. I binged that, and then I sat there like screaming at one point. I'm not saying anything because I don't want to spoil it. And he's like, "I hate everything that you decided to watch."
Or
All
Letter.
right.
That would be the other
Oh,
one.
that one we
Letterkenny.
agree on.
Anybody
Yes.
can binge Letterkenny.
We actually agree on
Letterkenny?
that one.
Letterkenny.
you
Okay.
gotta write that one
I'm
down,
going to
too.
watch this again.
Yeah, that's a Canadian hockey comedy.
I'm all over it.
It's if you like Deadpool, you'll give yourself a day to do nothing else because you won't walk away from it.
Allegedly.
Sounds good. Good suggestion.
Okay, if you had 1 week to go anywhere you wanted and money is not the object, where are you going to go? That didn't help me.
Oh
I'm
no,
sorry,
sorry.
I
We
was
were
snapping
pointing
at
at
our
kids.
Oh, I thought you were pointing at a
That way.
There's a map on the wall. I don't know.
We had a trip planned that we had to cancel because of the craziness in our life a couple years ago.
And kids.
And I hope that in the next couple of years we can replan it, and it's our dream vacation, and it's going to end up being our honeymoon that we still never had. But most of the animals that we keep come from a specific
Short.
area of Indonesia.
Sure.
We want to do an island hopping trip from Timor to Roti, where the peacocks come from. And I want to go to Sawu, where the Savu pythons come from. And there's also a dwarf monitor species on that island that hasn't been described yet.
Oh my
Okay.
gosh.
Cool.
And then
it's
if I get
interesting.
my say, we're going to Canada at some point because I've seen a moose.
She just wants to see a moose.
He moves.
She was super mad that there aren't moose running down the streets of Toronto.
Okay, it's not fair.
We went to Canada multiple times. I never saw a moose either, and I was
shit,
very
like-
upset.
So
Yeah,
we never saw the
Expected
moose.
them to let us through the border. Moose.
But the very first fishing trip that I took, I went out to a couple of islands, fish, and then I'm going back to camp. And there's something in the water. I got kind of close, but not too close. And sure enough, it was a moose swimming across the lake. It's the
I've never
coolest thing in
seen
the
one.
world.
I've never seen it either,
We're
Erica.
going back to that zoo.
All right, music genre. When you're working with your animals, what are you cranking up?
Oh, rock for me. Always rock and metal.
Classic heavy metal.
More newer stuff. Shine Down and 94 1 JJO kind of.
Okay.
Anything that makes my ears bleed.
The stuff that's scientifically proven to reduce stress.
Yes.
Erica, what are you listening to?
I actually like podcasts.
Otherwise, if you're talking music, musicals and
Ooh. Les Mis!
Yes.
musicals.
I am very. You can hear me belting about Jean Valjean just about any time if I'm listening to.
So,
Okay.
so if the song comes on, you're listening to, and song comes on, Summer Lovin' had me up. No,
wasn't
yes.
like-
Not as exciting.
No,
Like
She's
Les
talking
Mis.
like no. She's talking like musicals you would pay a lot of money to go see in a
Yeah.
theater.
Yeah.
My Fair Lady.
Phantom.
So, okay, Phantom.
Stuff
Phantom
like
of the
that.
Opera. One of
Yeah.
my favorites is Shall We Dance?
Oh, yep.
All right. Favorite thing to do with the animals? Quickly.
Education, all the educational outreach, absolutely my favorite thing to do.
Hatch.
Okay.
There you go. I'm right there with you.
What's your least favorite thing to do?
Clean.
Catch them. I have a lot of stuff that doesn't like to be touched, and it bites me when I touch it.
Oh, actually, I changed mine back from cleaning to sexy monitors.
Oh, so yeah, that sucks.
Ew.
They have a lot of sharp parts.
That doesn't sound like fun.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
not, and even when he's holding it, it still hurts.
Yeah, everyone hurts.
If you have time to do something just for yourself, what is your thing you're going to do for yourself only? Only. You're all by yourself. Nobody's home.
I love fishing.
Maybe I don't want to know the answer here.
That is something I really enjoy is fishing and just peace. Realistically, if I was by myself, I'd probably go hiking and just sit somewhere.
Crocheting.
Cool.
Cool.
Cool. All right, that's all the questions, guys. Whoops,
Go
wait a
down to
second.
summary.
I'm sorry, I'm not
That's all right.
following the path here. I'll sleep
All
till
right, I'm gonna go
9
do
a.m.
this.
They got to get the kids to bed. So
Yeah, we'll do this really quick. Ryan,
Yeah.
we've heard a lot, and again, we've probably just touched on a lot of the things that VivTech is all about. But tell us one thing that we haven't talked about in tonight's show that you really want our viewers to walk away knowing about VivTech, about yourselves, about the company, the values, the mission, whatever you want to say right now.
You know what? I think most people who have watched us or follow us kind of get it. We're passionate. We love these animals. We care about the animals more than we care about business. I have to care about money or I can't keep making cool stuff. But I don't care only about money. It's the driver I need for change. And that's how we look at everything. VivTech gives back to conservation. When you buy our products, you can pick which conservation organization you want to donate your chunk to. We donate to US Art constantly. We are constantly fighting for everyone's rights. And realistically, we're just some reptile nerds that want to hang out with other reptile nerds and improve the lives of the animals we all live in, whether that's through products or education.
Outstanding.
what's the best way to contact you guys?
You didn't ask Erica.
Oh, I'm sorry, Erica. What is the one thing about yourself or the business that you'd like people to take away tonight?
That maybe you haven't mentioned
That you
I
haven't
didn't
already
bring
shared.
Don't.
See, I thought he had it really well encompassed. That's why I didn't go there.
Yeah.
Poor thing. She just jumped
She likes
back
to
in.
He wants to let everybody know that because halogens in the United States are being phased out, VivTech is bringing in halogen bulbs in the next coming months in order to fill that in. And they won't be as expensive as the pet store bulbs because it's insane to buy something for $1 and sell it for 20.
Oh, I wish I had a bell here. Ding, 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 ding.
No, ours will be more similar priced, probably still a little more than what they were at like a Home Depot because they don't make as many as they used to, so they're not as cheap. But we will keep the price competitive, pretty competitive to that because we're trying to bring it in for people to use, not line our pockets.
Outstanding, outstanding.
And the best way to contact you guys is
Everything short of smoke signals because we probably won't be paying attention. But
Well, with the Canada fires.
yeah, we've been getting smoke into Chicago, so that Canada's been telling us they need more bulbs. Is what I'm getting. out of
No,
that.
he is not back at Zillow.
oh, okay.
But no, the
Yes.
you can find us on all social media, Instagram. I think we have a TikTok. I don't really
It's
touch that.
kinda-
It's probably bad. Instagram and Facebook, really. And then you can find our website at www.vivtechproducts.com.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, they're right like that.
And then we also have individual Instagrams if you would like. There's Herptile Dad and Herptile Mom. I know, like super.
That was her.
Great pictures. I love the pictures. I love you sharing about your family. We went a lot longer than any live stream that I've ever had, and I feel like I've just barely gotten into the good discussions. I'd love to have you on again sometime in the future. We can talk more about the specifics about the products, but oh my gosh, guys, you are incredible, an incredible couple that do so much for the hobby and the community. Again, I want to thank you for that. Thank you for being on our show. Thank you for the hit it or quit it and never quit it and keep doing what you're doing because we love you guys.
Well, and thank you both. We don't have time to be doing tons of podcasts and videos and editing. So when people like you guys allow us to come on and chat, it gives us a platform to educate and share. And we need that. And we love that. And we appreciate that. And the hobby that's out there, everybody that keeps everything from one leopard gecko to 5,000 ball pythons, they fuel what we do. So it's this, we appreciate all the thanks, but we do it because we are energized by the people around us. So thank you.
And Peyton still has the shirt you signed for him.
Yeah, he does.
My God.
That's cool.
Talk
That's
about an
cool.
embarrassing moment.
Yeah.
Peyton still has the shirt you signed for him.
So you have signed your autograph, Wally. We know
He
that.
has. He
Yes.
has. And
That's fun. Hashtag VivTech is the best. Thank you guys so
Yeah,
much. I
thanks.
appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank you.
Good
good
night.
luck with the family.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I can't find my cursor.
Nanette's trying to find her cursor. So, bye.
we couldn't find